Welcome to the FPL Social 2022. We are live here at Ultra Football in Melbourne at their brand new store. We have got a whole day action-packed lineup ready for you guys. I'm joined by my two colleagues from FPL Addicts, FPL Addicts L and FPL Addicts Ollie Walker Peel. We are here live with a live studio audience. We've got our panellists ready to go, and we cannot wait for you guys to see what we've got in store for you. We're going to be discussing everything about FPL, the journey so far this season, as well as getting into live transfers, captains, and who are you going to bring in most out of this weekend? Who knows? The deadline is tonight. We're going to be heading over to the pub later on to watch Man United versus Southampton. Before then, we've got a lot to get through. So without further ado, I'm going to hand you over to my colleague, Elliot. Elliot, you well?
I'm good, thank you, mate.
Nice to see you. You can take that mic off me now.
It's good to be here. It's nice to see so many faces, that we've all seen on Twitter and through the screens through the past 2 years. So it's nice to see it all come together and for us to all be here. But we'll get right into it now, Ollie, and we will introduce the panellists for today. So to start off with, we have the two girls for Hungry for More FPL. We've got Taylor and Carmina. Next, we'd like to bring in Ryan, also known as FPL Inzaghi. We've also got FPL Side Net. And last but not least, the one, the only, the man, the myth, the legend, the guru for FPL Addicts. So that is our panel for today. Right away into some FPL debates very quickly. We're not going to keep you waiting for too long. So the first debate will be getting underway in a moment's time.
You guys come on the couch now. You guys are on the panel. Perfect. Right, happy days. Excellent.
Does it mean?
Do three.
Just do.
Guys, join this now.
Just pick Harry Kane.
We've got 6 kind of stage questions that we're going to do, that we've prepped the panel with. Once we kind of go through them, there'll be an opportunity to put a question. So you want to put your hand up, Elliot's going to be on the mic, and then you can then ask a question on camera. Is that good? So feel free to do. This topic for debate 1 is how best to play FPL. Okay, in their opinion. So that'll be the topic. Sorry.
light up top. But that's definitely one way to play it. Sidenet, what about you?
Yeah, there's definitely a shift at the moment. I feel like the game's transitioning to, big midfields at the moment. So we saw earlier on in the season, like Ryan mentioned, that big at the back, 5-man defence. I found personally that was some of my best weeks playing 5 in defence. And if you'd asked me pre-season if I was going to be playing 5-man defence, there was no way I would have believed you. But as the guys mentioned before, there's nothing happening up forward this season. Like, no one's really outstanding. I'm looking at forward options, and it's a choice between King, Dennis, Edouard at the moment, and they're not really players that I'd really want to be focusing my side around. So yeah, I think at the moment that 5-man midfield is probably where the game's moving to.
Yeah, it looks like at the moment defence, midfield are the ways to go, and strikers, including Harry Kane, the guru, potentially not been at his best, but would you concur with the previous two opinions?
I would. I think a 4-5-1, 5 at the back as well. I think Quinton on the Amateurs of Oz podcast calls it the mullet strategy, which is big at the back. Yeah, I'd agree. I think a lot of fullbacks now. You've got Trent is effectively a midfielder. Robertson is like a midfielder. Reece James is almost like going in a midfielder. So I think if you can go as big at the back as possible, get those fullbacks in, you're going to get a lot of points. So for me, yeah, strikers have underperformed. You've mentioned Harry Kane as well. So load up on the fullbacks, load up on the defence.
Yeah, I've currently got it set at a 3-4-3 at the moment, so my advice to all FPL managers out there, don't play a 3-4-3.
Yeah, and don't follow your
don't follow any of my advice. You've got the experts here, not here. But no, there is more than one way to play FPL, as we all know, but this year it has been in about defence. But the third one for you, Guru, a bit of a stats man. How much should stats be considered in your opinion, do you think?
Yeah, look, I like the eye test, so I like to watch games. For those that follow me know I'm pretty much up all night watching all the games, so I prefer to watch the games and see the players as opposed to more so the XG and and that type of thing. But you still look at things like how many assists and goals and who's sort of doing well in the golden boot race and the assist race. But for me, I'm more of an eye test man. I like to actually watch the players, see what they're doing in the game, see if they're on form and that type of thing. So that's more my preference.
Yeah, because stats can be misleading, can't they? That's the whole thing about stats. Sometimes they can read well on a page. You can have 5 XG and there's no goals, and in the end, it's what matters is the concrete stuff.
Yeah, that's it. You can get, say, I really like Rafinha. I love watching him. He's been okay in FPL this year. Lots of dribbles, lots of skills, but doesn't quite get those big scores that we all kind of expect. So yeah, stats can definitely be misleading. So definitely prefer the eye test.
Yeah, it's an interesting point though, because it's a common thing in FPL, isn't it, with the stats and eye test. But yeah, we will move on. We'll move on to Sidenet. Are you an eye test or a stats man first of all? Let's preface.
Yeah, I'm old school like Matt. I'm eye test for sure. So it's all about watching as many games as possible, or analysis shows, highlights. That's always where I seem to make my points. I write it on my phone. That's what I look for. But generally, if it comes down to a decision between player A or player B, I will look at the stats. XG, XA is always great, but I always find personally touches in the box is what I always look at, because that gives you a real indication of where your players are. Because FPL, it's all about goals, assists, and clean sheets. And if you're attacking players in and around the box, getting plenty of touches, then that's what you want.
Yeah, it's a polarising thing. I think it splits FPL managers. I think the stats and eye tests. There's a fair few debates about it, but it is interesting to see that we've got a couple of eye test managers. Inzaghi, please tell me stats man just to change things up.
Well, I'd love to say that, but I mean, I think living in Australia, we're kind of behind the game a little bit, because we physically, unless you're Matt, we physically can't watch all the games, right? So I've got young kids. Getting up at 5 a.m, 6 a.m. is the norm. I need my sleep. So I physically can't watch all the games, and highlights, they're misleading as well. So it's a bit of a cliche. You do need both. A couple of examples. I was picking a goalkeeper earlier on in the season. I noticed that Crystal Palace had a really good expected goals conceded. I thought, great, Guaita, you're coming in. But Crystal Palace, when you watch them play, they don't concede many big chances, but they would always concede a goal from a set piece, which is relatively low XG, and they would always find a way to concede. So I think you need to look at the stats and then contextualise the stats in the game. And I think with the involvement of VAR, we also see goals and chances that are mostly legitimate go unrewarded in the stats. So the other day, Manchester United were playing Burnley, Bruno, great cross, Varane, header. Okay, there was nothing wrong with that, apart from Maguire. And he wasn't really, we can talk about that later on. It still irks me. The point I'm trying to make is that Bruno's cross, which was a great one for Varane, which resulted in the goal, that's not going to come up on the stats. VAR rules it out, it's gone. It didn't happen. So if you don't watch the games, you're going to look at the stats and think, Daniel James looks like a good buy. But you watch the games, and Daniel James is not a good buy. I love the guy, but... So I think you need both. Stats are interesting when you can't watch the games, but if you go purely on stats, I think you'll end up with Adama Traore in your team.
Yeah, I was going to mention Adama. He's obviously left the Premier League for the moment, but he's another one. There's a few like that. Adama, Daniel James, you mentioned those wingers that, catch the eye of everyone and then don't do anything with their end product. There's so many we can talk about. Yeah,
can I just also add one further point, is that stats aren't the same for all players. So if Son, for example, has an XG across 4 matches of like 1.5, that's not the same as Daniel James with an XG of 1.5, because Son, as a world-class player, doesn't need the same amount of opportunities to score well. So that's why I think stats just kind of from a distance are misleading, but yeah, back to you.
Yeah, it is a great point you mentioned about Dan James and Son. It's like chalk and cheese, isn't it? You just can't compare them. They're not the same football. If Dan James had any end product, it'd be, a world beater, but
he'd still be at United.
Obviously, he's now at Leeds, so that just tells you everything that you need to know. The next one, again, we'll go from right to left. A quick one. It's another one pretty much on stats and pretty much on podcasts. We're all big in the podcast game, and we all have some pretty decent podcasts that you should check out, and we'll promote later on in the show for sure. But how much information do you take in before a game week to prepare for said game week?
I think I've taken in too much this year, to be honest. I think you can really muddy the waters, and there's some great content out there. I love FPL. I'm always looking for something to watch and listen to, but I think this year I've listened to too many, and different managers have different styles. You listen to someone like Late Riser, for example. He's all about, high upside chasing, taking hits and whatever. And then you listen to someone like FPL General, who's about being conservative. And then if you find yourself kind of adapting your strategy based on what you hear from them, you kind of find yourself somewhere in the middle. And then you lack consistency, and the best way to play FPL is to just be consistent. It doesn't matter which strategy you employ. I think it's about being consistent. And so for me, I'm trying to learn to be more selective about what I listen to. Not that I don't want to support content out there, but in terms of what I let influence my FPL decisions, I think I need to be a little bit more selective. Yeah.
Yeah, it is an interesting one. Just to move on quickly on the side, I'm going to pivot slightly. How much information do you think is too much?
Oh, can you ever not listen to enough podcasts and watch shows? Look, there's so much information out there, especially, FPL Twitter is great. That's the reason why we're all here today, a lot of us. It's sort of got this community together. But sometimes you can find yourself sort of into a bit of a rabbit hole and you're just bombarded with so much information. But I think the main part is to make the decisions yourself, stick with that, and don't rely on all the noise out there to tell you what to do. It's great to hear that. I love hearing the opinions of everyone out there, wildcards and free hits, who's doing what. But essentially I think it has to come down to yourself, what you want to do, and that's probably the best way to get the most enjoyment out of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. And with the guru himself, I don't know how he's managed to go so good at FPL, because it's so hard. It must be so hard for you to find information, because you love the sound of your own voice watching our own podcast over and over. But obviously you do. So what do you reckon? Are you a podcast man, a website man, articles? How do you absorb your information?
Just watching all the games, articles. I'm not so much. There's a few podcasts I like. There's some content creators I like to watch as well and keep an eye on. But I mainly like just watching the games, reading people's Twitter articles and their posts, and kind of taking it all in that way. But I just like to play my own game and have fun with it. So I just kind of read bits of everything and try and pick the best from everyone's brains, I guess.
Yeah, I think you've got to have fun as well. There's got to be that element to it, especially if you're a bad manager like myself, who just doesn't. Just doesn't exist for someone like me. So you've got to have a bit of fun. But when you're a decent manager, I'm sure that also comes into it as well. Penultimate question: how much does EO or effective ownership influence your game and how you pick players? Some of the stats.
Yeah, I think it can really depend on the fixture. So, for example, in a double game week, obviously this weekend there's Bruno Fernandes, who's got the double game week, Cristiano Ronaldo. and if they're going to have a really high EO, then it probably will impact my decision a bit more, because it is that fear of missing out on points. Say for example, next week as well, game week 26, Salah's got a double game week with the Norwich and the Leeds game. Not triple captaining when his EO is going to be through the roof, especially in the top 10k. I will then take a kind of bit more of a closer eye on it. But yeah, it's really fixture dependent for me.
Yeah, and this one is to the panel, to all three of you. Can someone just give a decent description of what EO is for someone who may not be aware of what effective ownership actually is and what it entails? Just to any one of you.
Who's got a good analogy of EO?
Anyone?
Do you want to go, Pete? I'll have it.
Yeah, Pete.
So EO is basically the effective ownership. So what we're looking at is the percentage of players having those players, which at the moment, say for instance Mo Salah. So nearly all season Mo Salah's EO has been well over 100% because he's been perma-captain basically since game week 1 onwards until he left for AFCON. But last week his EO was only 17% in the top 10k, which is just unheard of for a player like Mo Salah. We haven't seen that for a long time. So yeah, it generally comes down to his ownership, who's captaining him, even triple captain. So yeah, I think heading into game week 26, using Salah as the example, with those double fixtures that he's got against Norwich and Leeds, his EO is, I think we're going to probably see the highest effective ownership of Salah out there.
Yeah.
Let's add one thing. In terms of describing EO, it can be difficult, but the way I see it, it's just outcome based. If a player has less than 100% effective ownership, you can celebrate their points, right? That's great. But if a player has over 100% effective ownership, unless you captain them, their points will work against you. If a player has over 200%, unless you triple captain them, then their points work against you. So just looking at Salah, as you've said, Pete, game week 26, Leeds and Norwich, most people will triple captain him. I dare say his effective ownership will be over 200%. So unless you triple captain him, his points will work against you. So I just see it as an outcome base, because if I try and get into the nitty gritty of it, I'll lose my mind.
That's a great explanation about triple captain and captaining, but I think Ronaldo might be the one for this week with his double. So do you reckon that's one that you'll have to look at for EO and one that people have to watch?
No, I think Bruno will be higher in terms of EO. I don't have Ronaldo. I'm not going to bring him in. I won't succumb to EO. Dennis a few weeks ago, but we'll forget about that.
Brilliant. Sometimes we make mistakes in FPL. Sometimes it can cost red cards and whatever. But we'll move across now to Elliot, who we're going to bring back in.
Perfect. So we do have a couple of live questions coming from the live stream on the YouTube. The first one.
Try that again.
Perfect. So we do have.
Is it on? Yeah. Try that again.
Right, so we do have a question from the live comments on YouTube from Quentin Dunn, who unfortunately can't be with us today, but he's joining us virtually, and he asks, and I'll give this one to the Guru, do you think it's better to go with your gut, Guru, just so it feels easier to accept the outcome?
I always go on my gut, because I always pick based on what I see and what I watch. So yeah, Quentin, you know me, I'll go with my gut all the time, for sure.
Regarding the same question, yeah, for myself, that way you own the decision, you own the outcome. So yeah, I like going with my gut as well.
I guess going with your gut is nice. My gut's let me down a lot after Mexican food. So I think going with your gut is good, because as you've said, you can own the decision, and whatever outcome happens, then you're like, well, that's all right. But throughout the week, your gut becomes so distorted that you forget what it was at the beginning. So I try and write down at the beginning of the week what my initial plans are, and then revisit that at the end of the week to see how much it's changed.
And of course, we do thank Quentin for all his contributions through all the podcasts. We are missing him today. Obviously, Damo, partner in crime, is here in attendance, but we are missing you, Quentin. Surely for the next one, hopefully you are down. But that does wrap up the first debate. Thanks to the Guru, to Sidenet, and to Inzaghi for their contributions. Wow. Well done, guys.
Cody, coming to you from the rainy Hunter Valley. Sorry I couldn't be there with you all today. Hope you're enjoying the FPL Social. Big shout out to the guys from FPL Addicts for putting it all together. And I must get back to some wine tasting and pondering my next FPL moves. Catch you all later and enjoy the rest of the night. Bye now.
FPL Social, what is going on? My name is Dean. Some of you might know me a little bit better as the FPL YouTuber, FPL Debate. I hope you're having a good night. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it down this weekend, but I'm hoping to get to the next one, whether it's in Melbourne or up close to my way in Sydney there. So I hope you have a great night. This is what I love about FPL, how it brings people together, the community. You know, I've met some people before, you know, and you're going through the small talk motions. How you going? What do you do for work? Blah, 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 blah. And as soon as you realise that you're both obsessed with FPL or you just both play FPL, bang, the conversation's off and running and you're talking for hours about FPL. It really does bring people together, and I hope you have a great night. And Game Week 25 is nearly upon us, and I don't know, by the time you're watching this, you may have already decided, are you going Salah? Are you going no Salah for me? That's my big question this game week, and I'm thinking of waiting one more week. Will I be punished for going no Salah? But at the moment, I am thinking about going triple Man United. Ronaldo, Bruno, and De Gea. Could backfire. Don't feel great about it, but can we escape Game Week 25 without Salah? I was about to say let me know down in the comments section, but this isn't a YouTube video. This is just a g'day. Have fun tonight. Hope you have a good time, and I might see you at the next one. Bye.
My name is Tian. You can find me on Twitter at FPL Planet AU. I've been playing FPL for about 8 years now. This is by far my best season, not only because of my current overall rank, but also the fact that I've been able to connect with a lot of managers like yourself across Australia and around the world as well. So another aspect I really like about FPL is the fact that it requires a lot of planning over the long season. It's 38 game weeks, and you can't really just play with 1 or 2 game weeks in mind. You guys are having a lot of fun at FPL Social. I think it's a wonderful idea, and well done to the FPL Addicts guys for making it happen, and I really hope to see some of you in person next time.
Hi, it's Quentin from the FPL Amateurs of Oz podcast. Unfortunately, I won't be there this weekend for the FPL Social, but looking at the lineup, you're going to have a lot of guests on there that are going to provide quality entertainment, so I'll be definitely tuning in for the live stream. Probably my favourite thing about this season of FPL is the Aussie FPL community, whether it's the banter or the content that everyone's providing. It's been awesome. If anyone needs a beer this weekend, definitely hit Damien up. He's the other half of the podcast. I'm sure he'll be able to sort you out. But yeah, have fun, guys.
Good day all. I hope you're all having fun at the very first FPL Social in Australia. My name is Ryan and I'm into my 10th season of playing FPL. With my love of the game, I've created a FPL/football YouTube channel called Football Chatbox. So make sure to check it out and support a fellow FPL Oz community member. YouTube.com/footballchatbox. Also, you can catch me on Twitter at Ryan_MS28. And finally, a massive shout out to the host of the event, FPL Addicts team. Well done on creating such an event, and I hope to see more in the future, and hopefully some in Sydney as well.
Hello to everybody attending the FPL Social. My name is Sam, FPL Debate, as you know me from Twitter. I just wanted to pop in and wish everybody attending the great event good luck. Obviously, it's going to be a fantastic day, and I hope you guys all enjoy it. I think it's fantastic. Obviously, I'd be there, but unfortunately, I've got family commitments on the day, so I can't. But I just want to wish you all a great day. I think it's awesome that not only we...
Welcome back to the FPL Social, and we'd just like to thank all of the creators for their videos that they've sent in. Absolutely wonderful to see. Just like to quickly bring in the Hungry for More girls, Taylor and Carmina. They do some brilliant work over on their channels if you haven't checked out. First to you, Taylor, how are you?
Hey, I'm great. It's so good to be here. Really enjoying myself.
Yeah, buzzing to be here?
Yes,
absolutely.
Totally.
We'll bring over to Carmina. Are you well?
Oh, doing well. Really loving the chatter here. We're loving it downstairs. Put together a great set of things.
Yeah, how good is it to see so many different creators, different people that we've seen over on Twitter that you haven't met in person? How good has it been to interact?
Absolutely. It's so good to interact with the fans as well as our fellow content creators, some local talent. You guys know what it's like. The hard work goes in, but that's why they're the experts. It's great to hear.
Absolutely quality to have you on the panel, and thanks for joining us. We will move into the second debate now. We have got the Guru who stayed on, and we have got Inzaghi who has stayed on. The topic here is what would you like to see changed about FPL, and the first question I'd like to ask is, are price changes too volatile this season, and if so, why? Of course, they're daily at the moment. Are they too volatile or not, do you reckon, Carmina?
In my opinion, I think it's okay doing it daily. For those hardcore managers, they can at least get up, they've got something to look forward to, they've got things to look on, stats, those sorts of things. I feel like weekly can be a bit of a hard one because there is stuff that goes on during the week as well, depending on how many managers brought in, this person. So I think, daily's fine, especially because they've got that price cap as well, of moving up only the point million. So, interesting to see.
I think if you follow the right people, I think it can make life quite easy. Taylor, what about you? Do you reckon that it should be weekly, or do you think daily's fine?
I think daily's fine. At the end of the week, every player has their own changes, and you just have to keep up to date with what's going on. But players have their own results, and that needs to be changed depending on their performance. So I think it's all right, at the end of the day.
Yeah, I think the one thing with price changes is it's the only thing that suits Australian managers, because they come out at 11 o'clock and, and they come out every single day. Everything else, it works against us. I think that's the one thing that actually works for us. So FPL, if you're watching, keep them daily, please. Give us something give us some advantage to take forward. But we're going to move on to Matt now, and we will have a go at this question here. What chip would you like to see introduced most for next season?
Well, I think it's got to be, I'm not sure if many people in the audience play the Champions League Fantasy or played the Euro Fantasy or the World Cup Fantasy. They've got a limitless chip. I think that would be unbelievable for Fantasy Premier League. So basically a limitless chip it's like a free hit, but you've got an unlimited budget. And it's just so effective in the Champions League Fantasy. I just reckon it'd be such a good one to bring in. Yeah,
you're basically FPL planner at that point with the limitless chip, because his team with his team is insane. So it's just you can just be TN for a week, which would be class. But Inzaghi, what do you reckon? Would you like to see maybe the return of the all-out attack, perhaps, or do you reckon that one's dead in the water?
No, that's dead. It's actually very similar to what Matt said. It kind of builds on that. The free hit, though, I don't like how you're limited to 3 players from the same team. It would be nice to say like a mega free hit or go limitless, but limitless is no budget, no limitation as to how many Liverpool players or City players you could pick. You can just go all in on however many teams, however many players you want for that game week. That would probably be my one, like a mega free hit. It's not really a chip, but a change that I would like to see is the pricing of players and reclassification of positions. It's a bit complicated, but it would be cool to see players like Salah, who are those wingers, be reclassified in the kind of like their own zone, if you like. You've got midfielders and forwards, and there's a gulf between. And defenders, it's not fair to pick between a Ruben Dias and a Cancelo, right? And the prices are so similar. So it's not a chip, but what I would change in that regard is make the centre-backs a lot cheaper than the wing backs, because they are so different in terms of how the game is played and scored. And then maybe think about how you can actually give some life to the forwards, because unless things change, we're not going to be picking forwards from now on, because it's all about those wingers like Salah and Mane and whoever else who basically play as forwards, but they get an extra point for a goal, clean sheet and whatever else. So that's what I'd change.
Yeah, definitely that's one that could be brought in. Potentially, if you could go down the route of, I don't know if you've played Supercoach in different sports, but they have like dual position players, so you can have a midfield and a forward. Do you reckon that could be something that could work?
Yeah, and similar to Supercoach, I like with the pricing how it's based on performance. It happens at the end of the week, so if a player scores well, their price will increase. Doesn't matter how many people bring them in. I'm sick to death of price changes. Salah's just rose 0.2 in 48 hours. That has really ticked me off. So I don't like the price change. I know we've moved on from that, but it still hurts, okay? So I don't like it.
Very passionate, and you definitely were potentially not prepared about bringing Salah back in. And there's the volatile nature of it, though, isn't it?
Yeah, he's coming in next week, but I don't want to have to pay 0.2 more for him now. So, I mean, I just don't like how volatile they are. I think they are too volatile.
Yeah, we'll move on, and we're going to go right to left to get everyone's view on this one, because this is an interesting point. Another one similar to Supercoach, if you've played it. Should there be a rolling deadline, yes or no?
No, because I think it disadvantages us Australians and people in different time zones too much. It's already hard enough to get up for some deadlines. The Saturday mornings that are 5 a.m. deadlines, that's really tough. Imagine if you had to do that again on Sunday morning. I don't like the rolling deadlines. I think it's too unfair to the rest of the world.
I mean, I suppose it would give us the rest of the day, though. It would give you, if it was a Saturday, it would give you the rest of the day to sort the team out. But Carmina, what do you reckon? Same opinion?
Yeah, I agree as well. It makes it very difficult for us Australians in that time zone, but also the fact that you'd really have to think about all the other players that you have and whether or not that's going to fit into your budget too. You know, it makes it tricky.
Yeah, the one thing I would say with a rolling deadline, Taylor, though, is it gives you a chance to manage more, I would suppose. So would you appreciate that aspect of being able to fully being able to manage your team on the spot, or would you rather just have it, once per week and that's that?
I think that would be a disadvantage for me, since I seem to forget the deadline and there's only one at the moment. So having to do it probably about 11 times for 11 players would be quite difficult. So I'd like to just keep it at one and try and get that one first.
And Guru, have we got a full house on that point?
Look, I would like to keep it how it is, because it creates some strategy to it. But in Champions League there's the rolling deadline. We had it in the Euros as well. I think they could maybe do it at the Christmas period when there's a ton of games in a short space of time. I think actually it could work quite well. So they might be able to throw it in there, or maybe throw it in when there's a double game week. So they could maybe have a rolling deadline 1 or 2 times a season. I think they can incorporate it in there. But overall, I prefer just the one deadline. But there's definitely some movement for it, I think.
Yeah, and final question for this debate. Should you be able to use multiple chips in the same game week? I don't really like this one, but Guru, for someone like yourself, do you reckon that would work?
No. I actually preferred FPL before the chips. I just like pure classic FPL, no chips, week to week. But they're there now. Using more than one on a game week, I just think it's going to it's going to be uncompetitive. Like, you get an advantage then. So using a triple captain in a wild card on the same game week, it's just not for me. I just don't like that idea.
Yeah, I think the wild card complicates things too much. But let's say hypothetically you remove the wild card from that. So you could play a bench boost and a triple captain, but if you played a wild card, you can only play the one chip. Would that change things?
No, because I think one of the best things, even though I don't like the chips, one of the best things about having the chips is you plan for the chips.
Yeah.
So in a season, you plan when you want to use the chips, and you sort of spread them out over different game weeks. And I just think using more than one in a game week, it's not as enjoyable. I don't think it would make the game any better as it is. It's just not for me.
Yeah, if we move across now to Taylor, what do you reckon? Same view? I think it just makes it a bit boring, to be fair.
I think for those hardcore managers, it would put them at such a huge advantage using one or 2 or more, that it would put the rest of the players just all out of whack. He said, you got to plan it so much, and when you're doing so many at the same time, you'll just be put at an advantage compared to everyone else. It won't be as fair, I don't think, where planning your players each week when you're not using chips so often really makes it strategic for the whole season.
I think that's a fair one. Carmina, do you see any method where it could work?
Yeah, I think it may work. Maybe if you had a limit to it, so just the 2 chips. I mean, it could make a difference, but at the same time, you really need to kind of plan it for a double, for a blank. Maybe you can use 2 chips then, but again, it's a lot of strategy involved in it.
Yeah, I think that is the way forward. If we now move over back to Elliot, who is roaming around in the audience.
Certainly am. We've got a question from one of our live audience members today. So Damo is the name. FPL West Ham is the Twitter, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
So what's your question for our opponent today?
Obviously I'm listening to different chip strategies or things that you'd like to implement. Something that I found interesting, I think it was during one of the first lockdowns where there was no FPL, and we were sort of getting our fix on the Bundesliga. On the Fantasy Bundesliga site, they don't do captains per se, but they have it spread across sort of defenders, midfielders and forwards, so it sort of spreads out the risk and things like that. So my question for the panel is, would that be something that you would be in sort of for or against in terms of mitigating that sort of risk in terms of captaincy? Because obviously, as you sort of guys discussed about EO and stuff, it would open up sort of another world in terms of that the differentiation of teams per se.
Yeah, look, so hold on, just to get it right. So in the Bundesliga, so there's no captain, or is it like a captain?
So they have 3 captains. So they have a captain in defence, captain in midfield, and captain in the forwards. And yeah, so that's the basics of it. So something like that.
Is that every week, or is that just a one-off?
Yeah, every week.
Yeah, look, I feel like it overcomplicates it a little bit too much. Whilst it sounds cool and there's a lot more points up for grabs, I just think it overcomplicates the game. So probably not for me. Again, though, that could be something that could potentially, going back on the chip strategy, it could be a one-off chip where you're able to use the captaincy. So maybe instead of triple captaincy, you're able to use the captaincy on a goalkeeper, defender, midfielder, striker, all in one game week. That could be a chance for a new chip. Obviously, that the points you could gain from that would be unbelievable. But that could potentially replace triple captain. I don't mind it maybe for one game week, but I think if that was week to week, it's just a bit too much overkill. Probably not quite for me.
Going off what he said, I would agree. It would have to be that 1 week where there's a huge blank amongst all the teams, and you can just emphasise the whole game week by using it off other players, rather than that one captain, like we saw that Salah wasn't there for so long and everyone's scrambling to get a good captain. So using that for a free hit kind of way would be, I reckon, beneficial. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I agree as well. I think it's good idea in a sense that you're spreading kind of the points there, but at the same time, it's hard enough choosing one captain some weeks, especially when Salah's not there. But for the moment, I think it would be good to look for having that as a 1 chip, 1 week kind of thing. Yeah.
That now concludes the second debate. Thank you to all of our contributors for putting their opinions forward. Much appreciated. One, two. One, two. One, two. One, two, one, two, one, two, one, two. Hey. Is it all good?
Look at this. Oh! Yeah, I know. He's got to bring in the. Buddy, I think. Buddy Ollie, yeah. No, I think so. Might be, but. Buddy Ollie. Buddy Ollie. You can say that, Mel. Yeah. Jimmy boys.
together, right?
When it's going off, the camera's obviously not going to be on us. Do you want me to mute the mic? Or do you
Yes.
Yeah?
Oh, no, you can do commentary if you want. Run it, yes. Right, you're going to introduce Rogan, like Warren captain.
Rogan, like Warren captain, perfect.
You like throwing the ball, Rogan, for the demonstration. Easy.
A little one of them. Otherwise, I'll break the unit from it.
Challenge one. Boys, you've got 2 teams.
I'll go to you to explain it, and you'll go some bloody Ollies or whatever, yeah? And then I'll go, and then you give it back to me, and we'll do a demonstration, and then we'll get into it.
Send a message now.
Yeah? Is that all good? And we are back live from the FPL Social in Ultra Football Melbourne. Today we have our first FPL Social Soccer Football Challenge. We've got our volleys today. Ollie, how's this one going to work?
So basically, just behind us here, we have got the rebounder, and we're just going to be throwing the ball, half volley or a volley, and looking to aim it into those bins in the top corners.
We, of course, do have our resident goalkeeper and our resident pro, Rogan, the captain of Lang Warren Football Club. How are you doing today, mate?
I'm good, thank you.
Yeah, good, thank you. And we'll get into it now. Ollie can give us a little demonstration with Rogan trying to hit one in the top bins. Fingers crossed he can do it. Take it away, Ollie. What a finish. That's why we call him the professional. Bottom left corner keeper was no chance. So we'll get into it now. We have our first team. The Guru is the first one up. We'll start the 2-minute timer. Ready, Guru? Go. Still yet to score. Unlucky, unlucky. Damo puts one well wide. Jordy Wilson. Oh, Shearer. Matty Gasden. FPL side net. Flicks one up. Oi, off the crossbar for the first one. Unlucky not so. The Guru steps up, and that's why they call him the Harry Kane for this season. Taylor. Oh, so close to the top bin. Carmina mishits one again. Damo steps up. He takes a touch, and it's a save from the keeper. Jordy Wilson. Matty Gasden couldn't hit a barn door. Side net. Saved by the keeper. This has been terrible. Yeah! The Guru scores! Wheels away in celebration and leaves it for the Gasden. Taylor steps up again. Unfortunately, no cigar for her. Armina now does connect with it this time, so that's an improvement. We're getting there. Damo's going to step up again. He takes a touch. The whole point is to volley it, Damo. Jordy Wilson, he's hit the target 3 times. He's been so unlucky. Gaston puts one as far left as it can possibly do. FPL side net. And the Guru, the only goal scorer so far. Oh, it's another great save from the keeper. Not long to go now. Can Taylor finish? Unlucky. Carmina now. Oh! And Damo is back at it. Can he finish this time? Oh, just far wide of the post. 10 to go. 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. And it's saved. So Team 1 with a under par performance, if I do say so myself, with just the 1 goal coming from the Guru Matty Day. We need Team 2 to get ready now, but we'll bring the Guru in for a little interview just quickly. If the Guru can come this way, the only goal scorer today, the golden boot of the FPL Social Challenges so far. He's got the Spurs shirt on. He's got Son 7 on the back. Was that a little bit of fun for you there, Guru, and showing off your skills there?
Yeah, loved it. Absolutely loved it. It was nice to to put that left one in the bottom corner. So it was a Harry Kane finish, I think.
I think it was a Harry Kane finish, and we'll get into the second team now. We thank you, Guru, and we are ready to go again for Team 2.
Team 2, the score to beat is 1. So we can hope that you can do that, please. We'll get the 2-minute timer on the clock, ready to go. We'll go to Rogan just quickly. Rogan, captain of Lang Warren. You're not very happy with that performance from Team 1, are you?
There was a couple of good strikes, but a little bit wild. It's a good job they got a net on the roof, to be fair.
We would have destroyed the whole store if there wasn't a net on the roof. So we'll get into the second team now. We'll get the 2-minute timer ready. And fingers crossed they can beat the score of 1. Are we all ready? 2, over here. We will get going just now. The 2-minute timer is ready. 3, 2, 1, go! Oh, they're already beating him. It strikes one. Was yet to have a top bin. Oh, unlucky from the little man. We're yet to have a top bin. Again, that roof coming in clutch. It's a good thing there is nets around this. And the Watford fan, unfortunately, can't connect. It's a very big ball for his small feet, unfortunately, but it's more of a Josh King strike, that one. Oh, and it's right. Speed into the bottom left corner. And FPL Inzaghi, not really showing the Inzaghi in him there, but unlucky. It's another great strike, rockets off the post. And just missed hit there. Again, netting in the roof. Oh, very close to the top bin there for the little man in orange. Oh, and it's a strike, and it's another goal. The Watford man steps up again. He tries to chip the keeper, very audacious. Very, very audacious. The rematch. Oh, it's a good strike from Inzaghi. Working into it now. That's another brilliant half volley there. Bottom left corner. Seems to be the favoured side so far, that bottom left. Are we going to get a top bin today? The bins are set up there. Oh, and it ricochets off another ball. That's a bit of a Jermaine Defoe, Sunderland there, off a beach ball. That's what I meant. Inzaghi steps up again. So close to that top left corner. Everyone favouring the left so far today. 10 to go. Can we get one more goal? Yes. 1. And that is time. Some good saves from the keeper. I think what we'll do, we'll have to go over and interview the goalkeeper. He looks tired already. Mate, it's a pleasure to meet you. What did you think of the shooting on display today?
Love it.
Yeah, good little workout for you there, getting down left, right, but they liked the left side, didn't they?
I know. Losing some cute.
I think so. He's sweating, so it's a good workout for him, and we thank you for your performance. But boys, that concludes the volley challenge for today. I think it's safe to say that Team 2 won. This is Charlie from Team 2. You absolutely battered those from Team 1, didn't you?
Did we? Yeah, it was a good performance. The whole entire side, we had a great strategy coming into it, and that was no strategy at all.
Well, sometimes the best strategy is to have no strategy, but that concludes the volley challenge. Team 2, the absolute champions, and we'll be back with you soon for another FPL Social Football Challenge. And welcome back to the FPL Social down on the pitch here at Ultra Football. Got another game for you, bit of football darts, bit of higher or lower. So basically the premise of this game, each player, we've got Rogan and 2 other contestants in here as well. Elliot's going to demo, and then from there we're going to be playing a bit of higher or lower. So the audience are going to call out whether they think the number on the board will be higher or lower. 2 lives each. Bob is your uncle. Elliot, take it away, my mate. Oh, actually hit the board. Oh, he's hit the bullseye! He's hit the bullseye! He's hit the bullseye! Here, con 7. So higher or lower than 7, and that wasn't too bad. Absolutely robbed there. As you can see there, though, if it doesn't stick, it doesn't count, unfortunately. But we'll get underway here. We need the crowd to decide higher or lower. Unanimous lower there. Oi! He's done it. He hits the 5. Who's the next contestant? Higher? Higher. 5. Steps up, looks cool, calm, and composed. I think that is 0 lower. And he hits. So we want higher for this one. Damo steps up. I think you've got to hit the outer ball, or higher than 20. I tell you what, we'll give him lower. We'll give him lower for this one, to be nice. To be nice, we'll give him lower. Executive decision there. And that's lower. That's lower. Doesn't matter, it's lower either way. Rogan steps up again. Higher or lower for Rogan? Lower than a 9. Lower than 9. He steps up with his precision. It's off the board. It's off the board. You get another free go for Rogan there. It's an 8. So he's done it by the hair on his skin. Higher than an 8. Chance the crowd. Higher than an 8. That looks to me. Hang on. We're going to VAR. We're going to VAR. Hang on. What are we giving it? To me, that looks like a 7. That looks like a 7, so that is 1 life lost. No goal. Back to Damo in the middle. Higher or lower? Higher than a 7. It's a 0 again, so we're going to give him another go. As he steps up his West Ham cap on, can he hit it? We'll give him another go, just because Jared Bowen helped all our FPL point teams out this week. And we'll give it the 1 there, and we'll move on to the next person, so we'll count that one. Rogan steps up again. What do we think, higher or lower than a 1? Lower than a 1? We'll go higher for you, Rogan. You know what, you can have another go. It's not as easy as it looks, as Rogan's showing, semi-professional. Sometimes he just doesn't. That's a 10. Higher or lower than a 10? I think more people said higher there, so we'll go higher than 10. Can you do it? Higher than the dartboard. Unfortunate there, unfortunate. Higher or lower? Higher. Way, and he does it, walks away, cool, calm. Higher than a 15. With the crowd are turning evil. Ah, stuck to the 20. What? 3. I can see that from here, that is a 3, and that is a life lost. That is a life lost for Rogan. Higher or lower, guys? Higher than a lower? Higher than a 3 is the one to beat. Again, higher than the dartboard. Now, I think that's an 18. To me, from here, James, can we get confirmation? Is that an 18? That's an 18. Higher or lower than 18? Lower than 18. Lower than 18. That to me looks like he survives another one. Rogan steps up once again. That was I think that was a 7. Looked like a 7. Higher or lower than a 7, guys? Lower than a 7. The crowd are turning on Rogan here. And that is 10. And I think that is Rogan eliminated, the semi-professional. As we step up for the final 2 now. It's a showdown, 1v1. Higher or lower, guys? Higher. Higher than a 10. What happens if he hits the same number? That's a 10. That was the same. Lost a life for that one then. If it's the same one, you lose a life. So does that mean that the champion... if he hits this one, he wins it all. Higher or lower than a 10? We'll go higher for the last one. Damo to finish it off. That's a 20. Finishing it off in style. Your 2022 FPL Social Dartboard champion is FPL West Ham Damo. Damo, what did you make your performance today?
Of course I'd win. Come on.
He's standing there with his arms crossed, cool and composed, just like Jared Bowen. He's done the business today. Well done, Damo. Congratulations. That wraps up the second football challenge for the FPL Social, and we'll be back soon with more FPL fan debates.
I'm loving the new Predator Edge. The colourway is absolutely awesome, and the rubber elements on the boots create great connection when you're kicking the ball. I'm also a big fan of how Adidas has used female athletes to promote the new Preds, as well as manufacturing smaller sizes to cater for the female market. Make sure to grab yours from Ultra Football.
Hi guys, Donald Breslin, aka FPL Debate, coming to you from the rainy Hunter Valley. Sorry I couldn't be there with you all today. Hope you're enjoying the FPL Social. Big shout out to the guys from FPL Addicts for putting it all together. And I must get back to some wine tasting and pondering my next FPL moves. Catch you all later and enjoy the rest of the night. Bye now.
FPL Social, what is going on? My name is Dean. Some of you might know me a little bit better as the FPL YouTuber, FPL Debate. I hope you're having a good night. Unfortunately, I couldn't make it down this weekend, but I'm hoping to get to the next one, whether it's in Melbourne or up close to my way in Sydney there. So I hope you have a great night. This is what I love about FPL, how it brings people together, the community. You know, I've met some people before, you know, and you're going through the small talk motions. How you going? What do you do for work? Blah, 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 blah. And as soon as you realise that you're both obsessed with FPL or you just both play FPL, bang, the conversation's off and running and you're talking for hours about FPL. It really does bring people together, and I hope you have a great night. And Game Week 25 is nearly upon us, and I don't know, by the time you're watching this, you may have already decided, are you going Salah? Are you going no Salah? For me, that's my big question this game week, and I'm thinking of waiting one more week. Will I be punished for going no Salah? But at the moment, I am thinking about going triple Man United. Ronaldo, Bruno, and De Gea. Could backfire. Don't feel great about it, but can we escape Game Week 25 without Salah? I was about to say let me know down in the comments section, but this isn't a YouTube video. This is just a g'day. Have fun tonight. Hope you have a good time, and I might see you at the next one. Bye.
My name is Tian. You can find me on Twitter at FPL Planner AU. I've been playing FPL for about 8 years now. This is by far my best season, not only because of my current overall rank, but also the fact that I've been able to connect with a lot of managers like yourself across Australia and around the world as well. So another aspect I really like about FPL is the fact that it requires a lot of planning over the long season. It's 38 game weeks and you can't really just play with 1 or 2 game weeks in mind. You guys are having a lot of fun at FPL Social. I think it's a wonderful idea, and well done to the FPL Addicts guys for making it happen, and I really hope to see some of you in person next time.
Hi, it's Quentin from the FPL Amateurs of Oz podcast. Unfortunately, I won't be there this weekend for the FPL Social, but looking at the lineup, you're going to have a lot of guests on there that are going to provide quality entertainment, so I'll be definitely tuning in for the live stream. Probably my favourite thing about this season of FPL is the Aussie FPL community, whether it's the banter or the content that everyone's providing. It's been awesome. If anyone needs a beer this weekend, definitely hit Damon up. He's the other half of the podcast. I'm sure he'll be able to sort you out. But yeah, have fun, guys.
Good day all, I hope you're all having fun at the very first FPL Social in Australia. My name is Ryan and I'm into my 10th season of playing FPL. With my love of the game, I've created a FPL/football YouTube channel called Football Chatbox. So make sure to check it out and support a fellow FPL Oz community member. YouTube.com/footballchatbox. Also, you can catch me on Twitter at Ryan_MS28. And finally, a massive shout out to the host of the event, FPL Addicts team. Well done on creating such an event, and I hope to see more in the future, and hopefully some in Sydney as well.
Hello to everybody attending the FPL Social. My name is Sam, FPL Debate, as you know me from Twitter. I just wanted to pop in and wish everybody attending the great event good luck. Obviously, it's going to be a fantastic day, and I hope you guys all enjoy it. I think it's fantastic. Obviously, I'd be there, but unfortunately, I've got family commitments on the day, so I can't. But I just want to wish you all a great day. I think it's awesome that not only will you guys be attending there and getting to know each other on the FPL land scheme, but everybody globally can watch it too. So it creates a great global audience, and just grows the game for us all. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the game. I look forward to watching it all. I know it's gonna be streamed. I can't wait to see it. Honestly, I hope you guys have the best day, and yeah, take care.
Fantasy Managers, we are back live up in the debate room. This is FPL Debate 3, and the topic of this one is the season so far. We've got Ollie, Taylor, Carmina, and Peter from FPL SideNet up on the panel today. So we'll get right into it. As I said, the topic is the season so far. So there's a lot of questions that could be had. So if you've got questions and you're watching along virtually, get them in the live comments, and our man on the floor, Jack Gillibrand, will get around to you. And obviously to our live audience, if you've got any questions, just raise your hand. But we'll get right into it now. And Ollie, the first question is going to go to you. Who has been the best asset this season and why?
Oh, anyone who watches the podcast should be able to read me like an absolute book here. Anyone should be. Mark Gahey has to be. Palace defender. Brought him in. 0.4%. He was amazing for about like 5 or 6 weeks. Still got him in my team. I think I've got him benched this week. But just for the memories, I'll never forget him. He scored goals left, right and centre, keeping clean sheets for fun. He was brilliant.
I think he's probably one of the most under-owned assets that you've ever picked up on, to be honest, Ollie. You know, as you said, 0.4% ownership. You said to me that week, I'm bringing in Guehi, and I was like, okay, interesting. He had Newcastle the week after. He actually scored, but it was chalked off by VAR, so he'd be even happier today if he had scored that one. But he's been a brilliant asset and a great servant for you so far this season, hasn't he?
He has, and I've just known him from the Championship because obviously he did well for Swansea, and obviously having that Championship knowledge, even Rovers aren't in the Prem, we know that, but it does give me an extra edge on everyone else who doesn't follow the Championship. So I knew he did all right. Thought he's a decent defender, had been for a while, and I thought I'd bring him in, maybe get a few clean sheets for Palace, and then popped up. I think he scored 2 in 2 weeks, and I'm like, I'm onto one here, and I've still got him. I decided to start him over Jacob Ramsey this week. So this week wasn't the one, but I still can't speak a bad word about Mark Gahey. He's been brilliant, so no bad words about him whatsoever.
I think the audible laughs there from the audience show what a mistake that was from you this week. But he's been a hero for you, and as you say, there's perks to your team playing in the Championship and not being in the big leagues. So you found a gem there, and it's a really good pick up from you. Taylor, who's been the best FPL asset this season in your opinion?
In my opinion, it would be Trent Alexander-Arnold. You just cannot look past him. He's played 21 games, he's had 10 assists, and he's had 10 clean sheets. So, what percentage is that? 50% conversion rate? So he's been absolutely brilliant. Apart from that 1 week he got sick, and I think everyone scrambled to kind of go, what do we do? But other than that, you just cannot not have him. So he's been great.
He's brilliant. I think the Guru said before when he was up here, he plays like a midfielder, doesn't he? The returns that he gets. If you don't have him in your team by this point, he's fairly essential. If you don't have him, you're going to be kicked week after week, aren't you? So he's definitely essential at this point in the season, I would say. And he gets so many bonus points as well. That's the best part about his game, is because he's down as a defender. He obviously plays right back for Liverpool. He just gets so many bonus points.
Yeah,
Taylor?
I think he's got 28. It was 23 or 28, so it's quite high up there, and he's got 150 points at the moment. So he's killing it.
He's absolutely insane. He's an absolute machine for Liverpool, and he fits the way that they play. So if you don't have him in your team, I don't really know what you're doing at this point. We'll move on to the second question, and the mic will be with Carmina for this one. Who's been the biggest FPL fraud this season?
I've got to wind back a little bit, back to game week 1, back to pre-season, thinking about Luke Shaw. Those couple game weeks, I was really trying to hold on to that Man United asset. I was like, no, he's coming, doing well in pre-season, got the minutes, everything was there. But unfortunately, some of us really banked on him to do something, and unfortunately, it wasn't anything.
Yeah, it was. I remember at the start of the season, he was, 5.5 million, I think. Everyone had him in their teams. I personally didn't myself, but he had such a good campaign with England at the Euros, didn't he? He scored in the final. He's still sort of doing nothing for Man United these days.
Yeah, it still hurts. It still hurts, that Man United woes. Yeah.
That's why you never go with Man United assets, and I can say that while Inzaghi's not up here. But yeah, Luke Shaw is definitely up there for frauds of the season. Peter, what do you reckon for your FPL fraud of the season so far?
Yeah, apologies to all the United fans here, but I'm going to go 2 foot on United as well. It's going to be Jadon Sancho for me. So, the last few years out in the Bundesliga, he's had nearly 20 goal, 20 assist seasons, big price tag, and everyone pre-season the buzz was, do you go Bruno or do you go Jadon Sancho? And a lot of people were thinking, we're going to go outsmart the game, go with Sancho, save some cash. And yeah, it's been a measly return this season. And when you think about how United basically had 12 months to think about what they were going to do with with Sancho, he's been so underutilised, and hopefully for him he can sort of reignite his career, because there's so much potential there. But I think from an FPL perspective and promise, it's got to be Jadon Sancho.
I think Man United are probably one of the fraud teams of the season so far, to be honest. With the summer transfer window that they had, all the players that they brought in, I think it's safe to say that Luke Shaw and Jadon Sancho are definitely up there for the frauds of the season. We'll move on again to the third question, and we'll give this one to you again, Peter. What asset do you regret not owning the most this season? You can do it for a single game week, or you can do it for an extended period of time.
Yeah, well, I mean, FPL is all about getting the right players at the right time. Throughout the season, everyone's going to have the players that bang. It's just about when you have them. And for me, Bernardo Silva was one of those players. I timed it incorrectly. So I waited that 1 week too far. I think it was game weeks 8 to 15. He was just banging in goals and assists every week. And I was sort of thinking, no, this can't keep up. This can't keep up. It did keep up. But of course, the second I brought him into my team, he sort of reverted back to that deep role. So yeah, for myself, yeah, Bernardo.
It always seems to happen, doesn't it, with FPL? You see a player doing so well. It reminds me of last season when the guru kept going on about Gundogan this, Gundogan that, and I was so adamant that I wasn't going to get him in my team, and every single week he just kept doing the business for him, and I never ended up bringing him in, and that's why he kept doing so well. So the guru's actually got me to thank for that one. But yeah, Bernardo Silva's definitely one that if you timed it wrong, some people still have him in their teams today, and he's just not really playing the way that he did for that sort of 4 or 5 game weeks. But someone that did pick up on it was D10, and he's been very vocal on Twitter about it. He found him before a lot of people did, and we spoke about the eye test before, and that was an eye test pick up over the stats for sure. So that shows how important that can be. But Carmina, what's one asset that you regret not owning this season?
Oh, well, I would have to wind it back to probably about mid-season, and I was thinking about getting Rudiger in. Had him for 1 week and got rid of him, and that's when he went on that run where he had a good couple goals. He was starting to get more attacking, so unfortunately, didn't roll with that, and I ended up getting, I think it was Chilwell who just got injured after that, and yeah, just no good things to come from Chelsea, unfortunately. So. But yeah, that's all for me.
Yeah, that Chelsea defence has been so strong this season, and Rudiger's been such a hidden gem this season in FPL. I don't think a lot of people thought at the start of the season that he'd be so important to their teams, but that run that Chilwell went on was definitely good until he got injured. So we're hoping that we can see him back in our teams at some point towards the end of the season when he comes back, and I'm sure Peter will want him back in that Chelsea lineup for sure, because Marcus Alonso doesn't really cut it these days for them. I don't think he's getting on, but we'll pass it back on to Taylor, and we'll go to the fourth question. What's been the biggest lesson that you've learned playing FPL this season?
My biggest lesson would be not to knee-jerk react, because I did that with Bruno in the second week of the season, and to my mistake, I captained him and triple captained, and I got a total of 3 points. And so that was my biggest regret. So yeah, do not knee-jerk react ever. So yeah, let's leave it at that.
I think as far as knee-jerk reactions go, that's probably one of the biggest ones that you're ever going to see playing with triple captain in the second game week after Man United played one game at home against Leeds. So I think that's definitely a difficult way to learn the lesson, but definitely a valuable lesson to learn.
Yeah.
But Ollie, what's been the biggest lesson that you've learned this season?
Probably not to listen to any of your advice. Just to trust myself a bit more, I think, especially with go back to the Guay pick, like no one went with him, and I said, right, I may as well go with it. I wouldn't have done it probably in the past, because I would have thought, right, it's too obscure. Everyone and their nan's telling me not to go with him because, he's Crystal Palace, 0.4% owned, why would you do that? But I went with it, I ran with it, and it worked out well. It hasn't worked out on other occasions. I know, it has a tendency not to work sometimes, but also with Kamara, I think he played Newcastle that week possibly and played okay, but I went with him just off the backing that I thought he'd do alright. Potentially didn't quite work out, but I think he got a return the next week, so just to trust myself, go with the lower owned assets, and they might strike gold for you. I think it's my lesson so far.
And it links back to what Quentin asked before in the live comments, and just reiterating again, if you do have any questions, get them through in the live comments. But you've got to go with your gut sometimes in FPL, and if it doesn't work out, you get back on your high horse and you go next week again. And that's the thing about FPL, is you've got 38 game weeks to get it right, don't you? So those gut decisions, you're going to have a fairly good batting rate with them at some point in the season, you'd like to hope, wouldn't you?
Yeah, sometimes they work, sometimes they don't, but again, I think it gives you more chance to manage your own team if you go with your gut. I know we said before about how much information you consume. There's so much good information out there, and so many good podcasts and content creators in the room as we speak right now. But at the end of the day, it's your team to manage. I don't know how many times I've spoken with friends who are asking your opinion, just constantly asking questions and saying it's your team. Manage your team. You're like the, you're the Antonio Conte, the Sir Alex Ferguson of your own team. Run with it and then see where you can take it. Because if you listen to too many people, sure, they can have some great content creators and good advice, but at the end of the day, it's your team. And I think as soon as you realise that, then you play FPL a little bit differently, and that's how I prefer to play it. Just manage it myself. So I think that's the best bit of advice that I've learned, or best lesson I've learned this year.
Probably one of the smartest things I think I've heard out of this guy's mouth for the 5 or 6 years that I've known him, to be honest. Just go with your gut, go with the game that you want to play, and I think that's brilliant advice from you. And we'll move on to the second last question, Ollie. Who is the best asset to have that's signed recently in the January transfer window?
Oh, big call. There's a few, isn't there? I think the obvious one is Philippe Coutinho from Aston Villa. Coming on loan, obviously had such a good spell with Liverpool a few years ago. Went off to Barcelona for big money and did absolutely nothing. Went with Bayern on loan, did all right. And we're thinking, are we going to see Philippe Coutinho again? He's gone to Villa with Steven Gerrard, completely revitalised. Getting goals, getting assists, was so good last week against Leeds. Right up there again, double-figure scores. He's got the holes. And at the moment, he just looks absolutely unplayable. In a Villa side, you're looking at Villa, when he was on this good run at Liverpool, when he signed for Barcelona, Villa were like in the Championship. And you look at it now thinking that they've got a player like him at their disposal. I think he's the one for me. It's probably an obvious one, and I'm probably really, really boring. But I think sometimes you've got to be boring and got to be obvious. And Coutinho's the one for me to have signed in the January transfer window. I think if you haven't got him, you've got to have a look at getting him in because he is unreal.
I think it's interesting because I've sort of got, what Peter was saying about the Bernardo Silva, sort of feeling a bit like that with Coutinho at the minute, not sure if I want to make the move just yet or if he's going to, have a couple of bad game weeks in a row, or if what we're seeing now is, the complete Phil Coutinho that we all used to know at Liverpool. He used to score goals for fun. Obviously, just said he did get that move to Barcelona. It didn't quite work out for him, but I think it's definitely an interesting one. I think a lot of people, I think he's going to be the most transferred in player this week into their teams. They've got Newcastle away, so fingers crossed the Toon can stuff him and Phil Coutinho can blank, because I don't think he's going to be coming into my team. But Taylor, who do you think's the best asset to have in FPL that's signed this January?
Look, I did want to say Coutinho, for the minutes he's playing, which is not a lot, he is getting those holes. Last week, what was it, 16 points? So it was brilliant to see, only 77 minutes. But probably saying might be a February transfer. Looking at Diaz at the moment, he is 8 million I saw, but in attacking for Liverpool, it'd be interesting to see whose minutes he takes, whether that's Mane or Jota's, or be interesting to see how he goes. So I've definitely got my eye on him. But other than that, Coutinho is looking great. I think I brought him in for like a week or so, and then he kind of blanked a bit, so I was like out. But now I'm like, oh god, he looks good. So
Diaz looks brilliant. He played against Leicester and he was so unlucky not to get his first haul of the season.
Yeah.
But we do have a live question from FPL Inzaghi, one of our panelists that we had on before. So we'll go over to him now and he can ask his question to the panel, to Carmina and also to Peter as well.
Fantastic, thanks Elliot. Yeah, a question you haven't prepared for, so apologies. I was talking to Bill Stewart just before. He won the Optus Sport FPL League last season. He came first in Australia, so he's a FPL Australian legend. And he was telling me that he predicts that Cancelo will be outscored by Tierney for the rest of the season, right? So he's kind of saying that Cancelo, it's time to sell, reinvest in guys like Tierney, who is cheaper, right? And kind of go elsewhere. I see the merit in that, and who are we to argue with this guy? So I'm asking you, which FPL asset, because we've talked about what's happened so far, I want to talk about what's going to happen. Which FPL asset who has done well so far this season will not do as well for the rest of the season, and we might need to think about selling or looking elsewhere? I know that's putting you on the spot, but keen to hear what your thoughts are.
No, I know Antonio's done a great job this season, but he's really ticking down. And even though those fixtures are still looking green, still looking pretty good, I must say he's well out the door for me. And I don't know if he'll do any better. But I'm looking to possibly Weghorn moving forward. But who knows? That's a thing. We predict, but sometimes we can get it wrong. So yeah, that's probably my answer.
Okay, so at the moment, it looks like Reece James is close to coming back for Chelsea. I think the second half of the season probably won't be as strong as his first half of the season. That's more down to Thomas Tuchel just throwing the magnets around the board at the moment. So, with one of the biggest fears for FPL managers is rotation, and if anyone can rotate more than probably Pep Guardiola, it's Thomas Tuchel. So I think Reece James will struggle to match that first half.
That was a very, very good question on the spot. This one that I've got now for the final two answers that we'll have Peter and Carmina again. It's kind of the reverse question of what FPL and Zaggy's just asked. Who's one player that you hope can step up for the rest of the season that hasn't necessarily performed so far this season?
Yep, so I'm going back to my beloved Chelsea, and Hakim Ziyech is a player that has recently, he skipped AFCON, which was probably good for him, and he seems to have broken into that Chelsea 11. He seems to be first choice, and he's got an absolute wand of a left foot. So we're seeing him more involved. He's centre of a lot of the play. Chelsea trying to work their sort of formation around him to utilise him the best. So I think with his set-piece ability and just able to, hit a target from a mile away, I think Hakim Ziyech could be an absolute baller. I think 7.3 million.
Very cheap, very good asset that I think it's a very good point that you make, could really turn up for the second half of the season. Carmina, what do you think?
Oh, I'm thinking about Lucas Moura, and shout out to Maddie as well for the Spurs shirt there. But I brought him in the last couple of weeks. Was thinking it was only going to be a short-term pick, but in my eye test, I think in my opinion, he looked good. And coupling up hopefully with the sun coming back and looking good as well. I'm looking to have two Spurs in my midfield possibly, but not solid on that yet.
Yeah, I think Lucas Moura has been a player that's been revitalised under Antonio Conte. He's playing much more better football for himself now, and he's helping Spurs out a lot more. So I think that's a very good pick from both you and Peter. We do have one final question from the audience. We've got Charlie, and he'll go to Taylor first, and then to Ollie, and then we'll wrap up this debate. But Charlie, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Elliot. So my name is Charlie Roberts, and I've been playing FPL for 7 seasons. I've Jack Tommy introduced myself, so there you have it.
It's like a therapy circle. I'm addicted to FPL.
My question to the panel here, it's a unique one, especially with this season, with the second free hit chip. Do you feel that's diminished the strategy within the fantasy game, or it's been a big beneficiary to us fantasy managers?
I personally think it's been really beneficial. With all the blanks throughout all the effects of COVID and stuff like that, you just have no idea what's happening. 1 minute your players are playing, the next minute they're not, then you're having half a team on the pitch. So to have that free hit just for that week is so beneficial. And then, because I used mine a few weeks ago, I really needed it, and now I still have another. It's just brilliant to actually see that, because I'll definitely need it in a few more weeks, So for me, it's been totally great.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I've already used one of them. I used them a few weeks ago. I can't really remember how I did, but I know Elliot was saying he has two free hits left, and I've still got one wild card and a free hit. It's just helpful knowing that I can be flexible and dynamic with my team now. I can, I've got a little bit more wiggle room if I have a bad week, like I probably will this week, knowing me. Had a shocking week last week. If I have another bad one, it might be time to pull the trigger on a wild card or a free hit. But I think it just makes things a little bit easier. We've been absolutely slapped with COVID, haven't we? It's been a pretty tough season, unenjoyable at times as well. As fun as FPL can be, it's been quite unenjoyable in periods because of all these cancellations. So that free hit just allows a little bit more creativity, a little bit more enjoyment. So I think it's good from FPL what they've done, and I'll be looking to use my free hit at some point soon. When that'll be, I don't know, but hopefully I can use it well.
Yeah, I think a lot of FPL managers really appreciate it, just knowing that we're sort of cared about and they're looking out for us during what's been quite a difficult season. But that does wrap up the FPL panel. Debate 3 this season so far. So Ollie, Taylor, Carmina and Peter, we thank you, and we'll be back soon with the FPL Addicts live podcast from Ultra Football in Melbourne. Fantasy managers, hello and welcome to the first ever in-person FPL Addicts podcast. It's been quite a journey, year and a bit so far. We've never actually done one with all the panel in person, so this is the very first live from the FPL Social at Ultra Football in Melbourne. So we've got Ollie and the guru Matty Day today. So Ollie, you've been on the panel a bit so far today. Game week 24 is behind us now, but we're going to go on a little bit of review of it. Are you excited?
Not to review 24. Really not excited to review 24. Do we have to?
We do, mate.
Excited to preview 24. The fact that we've got this is unreal. So glad to be a part of it, and let's get into it.
Absolutely. So we'll start with how the panel's teams did so far, and me, the resident lowest in the league, other than Statman Dave, who's working behind the scenes today. I won't expose him too much because he's not doing too well this season, but managed to get 65 points last week. The captain pick of Bowen really paid off for me. I think a lot of people put their faith in him this week, and they were definitely repaid. He's been absolutely brilliant in the past couple of weeks, so it was nice to see him on the score sheet yet again for West Ham. I'm sure Damo, who's sitting right in front of me, was fairly happy with that one as well. Other than that, Jota was another big hitter for me, who was, one of the Guru's top captain picks this week. He told so many people to put their faith in Jota, and if you listen to this man, you're going to get the rewards from it. So that was my week, 65 points. In terms of, the other people that aren't here, we've got Jack and Reedy as well. So I'll go through Jack's team. He's unfortunately working behind the scenes as well today, so he can't be on the panel, but he had a brilliant week. The average was 50 points, and Jack managed to get 80. He doesn't often get big scores, so, he's disappointed. He's disappointed that he's not sat right there today, but 80 points. He put his faith in Son as his captain this week, and it paid off. He had the partnership of Diaz and Cancelo, who managed to get that clean sheet, as well as Trent Alexander-Arnold and Ben White. So his whole back four managed to return for him, which is quite a rare sight in FPL. You don't often see that. So he definitely reaped the rewards of the defenders this week, as we discussed earlier in our panels. But Ollie, you this week, it wasn't so good as, someone like Jack. 52 points, only 2 points above the average. You did put your faith in Bowen, like myself, but other than that, what did you sort of make of your week?
Oh, nothing else went right. Jack should be sitting here, shouldn't he? I am the FPL fraud of this week. I am the FPL Addicts fraud, because Jack should be in this position. Look, I started the game week really well with Jared Bowen, obviously really lucky with his goal, let's be honest. Obviously, it was a game a bit dire, not many chances created, and Bowen got a bit lucky with the deflection and scored, and I thought, I'm on to a brilliant week here, nailed it with a captain pick. And then nothing happened. And I just watched everyone else with high assets. EO turned me over, and I just, took massive red arrows. So 52 points, I'll take getting above the average. It's for those that watch the pod, I pride myself on at least being better than average. Because that's what I am in most things, is an average, and especially in FPL. So as long as I'm better than average, I'll take that. I got 52, which is a bit poor, let's be real, let's be honest. But you've got to have someone to take the mick out of on the podcast. Usually it's the other way around, that I'm taking the mick out of you this season. So enjoy this moment while it lasts, because it's not going to be long. But no, really poor week, and let's move on.
Absolutely. Fraud Watch, 9 p.m. tonight. This guy is on there, so just watch out for it. But, Ollie, I do just want to talk to you just quickly. Trent Alexander-Arnold, and, you've got Andy Robertson in your team both now as well. So, Robertson's been a brilliant transfer for you. Brought him in the other week for that Crystal Palace fixture that Liverpool had, and, he's really shown what he's made of. So you've actually gone with the double Liverpool, and, how do you think that's going for you so far?
Oh, yeah, Liverpool, we all know that when they've got their whole defence fit, obviously we saw last season that when Van Dijk was out, they fell away a little bit. Even Burnley went to Anfield and beat him, so that shows how bad they must have been, because Burnley are awful. But, when the full defence is fit, they're brilliant, and having two defenders that can, not only can they defend, they can also attack as well. Good on both sides of the ball. We've seen the crosses that Alexander-Arnold and Robertson can provide, so it was pretty obvious as soon as I had the chance to bring Robertson in. I thought that it would be good to do so, and it has worked out. One of the only positives from the recent weeks, because I've taken a bit of a tumble down in OR, but having the Liverpool defenders in has been good, and long may that continue.
Yeah, absolutely. That was Ollie's week, but the main man this week from the FPL Addicts, who unfortunately is about 15,000 kilometres on the other side of the world, is Chris Reed. He managed to get 96 points this week, just 4 shy of the century mark. He had Kevin De Bruyne as his captain, he had Jota, he had Bowen, he had Coutinho, who all returned for him, and his back four as well all managed to get him returns. He had Trent, he had Kufal, he had Cancelo, and he had Tierney, and he also had Fabianski in goal, who managed to get him a clean sheet as well. So the only players that blanked for him was the fraud Ronaldo and Martinelli, who didn't actually end up playing. So Reedy, unfortunately you can't be with us today, but what a brilliant week he's had this week, and long may it continue for him as well, because he is absolutely flying. he really shows that FPL is your game. It's what you make it. The amount of hits that he takes, 96 points is probably how many points he's lost this season from the amount of hits that he takes. But he's enjoying it, and he's high up in the league. So fair play to Reedy, and it's really paid off for him this week. But the Guru, he managed to get 67 points this week, so better than me, better than Ollie. Not quite as good as Jack and Reedy, but you had Son as your captain. You put a lot of faith in him on the podcast last week. He was your first pick straight out the bat. You said Son is going to be your captain. You put your faith in him, and it paid off.
It did. Look, Reedy's hot on my heels now in our podcast mini league, so I am a little bit worried. Just a little bit. But yeah, game week was okay. 67 points. Obviously, the average was 50. I did captain my man Son, even though I was telling everyone, if you've got Jota, captain him. And I was going to change at the last minute, but I was just like, nah, I've stuck with Son for this whole break. I can't go against it now. And he did return. He was unlucky not to get a couple of goals, so I'm not too disappointed with the choice. Had Jared Bowen as well. Like everyone did really well. Tierney, Alexander-Arnold, Cancelo. I actually played with 10 men this week. I had both Brighton goalkeepers who didn't play. So I decided just to play with 10 men, roll the transfer. Couple of frauds in my team as well. Shout out to Calvert-Lewin. Didn't play, but I'm going to keep him for this week. Josh King come off my bench and got 2 points anyway. Again, the 2 points is better than nothing, because I was going to swap in Edward, who I think frauded a lot of people anyway.
You don't like Edward.
Yeah, and I don't like Edward, because I think everyone who watches the pod knows, had him for 8 game weeks. I got 10 points from him, and then he went on a goal-scoring run afterwards. Gallagher only got the point, so that was a bit disappointing. And Ollie Watkins as well. He's been, 5 or 6 game weeks now without a goal, and he's been absolutely shocking for me. So, yeah, I got a few frauds in there to move out, but overall, can't complain with the 67 points this game week, coming into a double and 2 transfers.
3 goals from Villa, and Watkins not involved with one of them, Guru. You must have been shocked, if you were watching the game, just watching it before your eyes, or when you woke up in the morning. I don't know how he's not been involved in a goal.
I couldn't believe it, especially with I think it was the 3rd goal that Ramsey scored, and Watkins sort of made the move, and I was thinking, come on Ramsey, just pass it, and then obviously smacks it into the top corner, and I was just like, and I was saying this before to some of the audience, if you don't play FPL, those things wouldn't really bother you, but when you play FPL, it's just like, it winds you up so much. And yeah, I was fuming, and he's on my hit list, but I'm not sure if it's going to be this week.
Yeah, I think a lot of people brought him in for that game week where he wasn't actually able to play because Villa's game got cancelled quite close to the deadline, but he hasn't been the best servant in the past couple of game weeks. But the best thing about FPL is that if a player's not performing, as the Guru said, we can transfer him out. So in terms of our transfers for this week, boys, Guru, we'll go to you first. What changes are you going to be making this week?
Yeah, look, I've got 2 transfers, so I'll just quickly talk through my side quickly. I've got Sanchez, Tierney, Alexander-Arnold, Cancelo as my back line. So I'm thinking what I'm going to do there. Williams and Livramento. So I'm thinking with the 2 transfers, I'm going to take out Williams from Norwich, bring in Webster from Brighton. So he's 4.4 million. Brighton have got 2 games. They got Watford and Man United. He's pretty much, I think, he's nailed, isn't he? I think Veltman's the one that's a bit of a rotation risk. And then Dunk's nailed. Cucurella, they reckon's nailed. So that he's more than likely going to start. He's cheap, so I'll put him in so we get the 2 games. And then the other transfer, it was going to be one of the frauds, either Watkins or Calvert-Lewin out. But I'm going to give him one more week because Watkins has obviously got Newcastle, which is a good fixture. Although I'm not sure if he's going to play, but I'm just going to keep him in. Calvert-Lewin, I think I'll give him another week. And then I'm going to go into the double game week 26 with 2 transfers. And I'll obviously look to move Salah back in game week 26. I'm going to avoid him this week. I'm scared of not owning Salah, I'm not going to lie. I've still got Bruno Fernandes, and I just think with the 2 games, got to then look at keeping him. But yeah, transfer, just 1 out of the 2 transfers, and Webster in for Williams. Then again, we are out, for most of the night. The deadline's at 10 p.m. Melbourne. That could change when we're at the Imperial Hotel tonight. So we'll see.
Yeah, you're going to have to check out the podcast next week to see what sort of crazy transfer the Guru's brought in, as he's been peer pressured at the Imperial pub tonight. But Ollie, in terms of your transfers, what are you going to be doing with your team this week?
Yeah, Reedy's not here in person, but he's here in spirit because I'm the one taking the hit on the podcast this week. 2 transfers for me, taking a 4-point hit. And one man who I never thought I'd be saying on an FPL podcast, Harry Winks. There's one for you, Guru. He's coming in at 4.4. He is. He is.
Wow.
There we go. There's your bombshell. Harry Winks has come into the team, and I'm fully being serious. Playing at 4.4 to go on the bench. I had a look at, I can't remember, I think it was Gilmore. I think it was Gilmore at 4.3. I just wanted a bit more security with 4.4. So Harry Winks is in. Smith Rowe's on the way out. He doesn't have a game, so going from one North London asset to another, which does give me room to bring in a man I did speak about before, Philippe Coutinho, who comes in for Damari Gray, who is injured. But Harry Winks, he's not going anywhere near my starting 11. He's just a bit of security on my bench, but you know, after I say this now, he's going to haul, isn't he? 10 points plus.
It's not a bad move in terms of bringing him in because he's cheap, just putting him on the bench, using the money elsewhere, and then you've got a wild card, so you're probably going to plan on using that in a few weeks anyway, so you can sort of shift him then. But you didn't think about Ramsey from Villa? He's, what, 0.3 more, or you just can't fit him?
He's already got him.
I've already got him, haven't you?
Benched him this week.
You benched him this week and he got 11 points.
14, he got bonus, didn't he? 14. So even more, it was even worse for me. But I already had Jacob Ramsey and I had 4.4, so I wanted to be exact. But yeah, it surprised me. I had a look at it today and I just thought, Harry Winks at 4.4. You know what? May as well. But it's a bit of a rogue selection, but it might be one that works out. You know, I'm a bad FPL manager anyway, and if Harry Winks plays to that, then he might well. But we're going to go with it. That reaction needs to be clipped up and posted everywhere because I think that's one of the best moments on the podcast from the year. Was just the Guru's reaction when I just went Harry Winks. We haven't had many.
If the microphone didn't pick it up, he just goes, "You're joking, you're joking," yeah. Over and over again. For myself, Winks is not going in my team, to be clear. Just to be clear. I'm actually going to be rolling over this week, as the Guru said. He's got the 2 transfers for the next double game week, and I sort of want to be in that position as well. Can field a full starting 11 with 1 sub that's probably going to play as well. So I think for me, the smart move is just going to be to roll over and save the transfer and see what I can do in game week 26 as well. So, Guru, who's your captain pick for this week? You know, you smashed it with Son this week. You smashed it with telling people to go with Jota as well. Who do you think's the best option for the next game week?
For my team, it's going to be Bruno. I already own him. I owned him in the last double game week where he did well. I'm kind of looking at it thinking if he's got 2 games, I can't really get rid of him now. Do I think he's the best captain option? I can't trust Man United at the moment, to be honest. But I think if you've got him, you know, you probably do captain him. But I think there's some other good shouts. I actually don't mind. I like De Bruyne with the Norwich game. I do think he will play. I like obviously Salah against Burnley. I'm not minding if you want to try something a bit different, like a Rashford. You know, if he does get the minutes, you know, he actually looked good against Burnley the other night. He had a lot of shots on goal, and he got 2 goals in the preceding games. But obviously, he's not been starting. But yeah, for something a bit different. But again, you know, you're probably going to want players that are definitely nailed. So maybe Bruno, maybe Ronaldo. Maybe Ronaldo will, you know, do better than he did in the last game week. But I'd probably say those options are the best.
Yeah, I think, you know, very smart picks from the Guru. Again, it's sort of like a condensed Guru section that he's given us there with his captain pick. So we thank him for his service there. But Ollie, who's going to be giving the armband to you this week?
We need Jack here. No.
It's got to be Harry Winks, doesn't it?
It can't be Harry Winks. No. We need Jack here. We need Jack on the podcast because it is his favourite. It is his man. For me, it is Mr. Sue himself, Cristiano Ronaldo. I got rid of Bruno last week, as those who watch the podcast would know. Brought Salah back in for him, because that was the only way I was going to be able to do that. And so it's left me without him. And so I wanted to go Ronaldo, double game week. I think he might be able to return. I'm hoping so anyway, if I've got the armband on him. But no, the captain is definitely not going to be Harry Winks for this week. He'll be square on my bench. But one person who won't be will be Ronaldo, and he's got the armband.
Yeah, I think it's a safe pick from you there, Ollie. I think he's probably at the top of my list at the minute, top of the pecking order. I think, you know, I was speaking to Matt Gasden before downstairs, and, you know, if Ronaldo doesn't do anything this week, I'm done with him. I'm moving on. You know, for too long have I held this guy, and, you know, if he's not doing what Salah's doing at a similar price, then there's definitely better options that you can have. And putting all that money into a forward, we spoke about it earlier, You know, it's very difficult this season because it's all about the defenders and midfielders. So I think it's going to be Ronaldo's last week for me. So I'm going to put all the faith in him, all guns blazing. He's got 2 games to get it right for me. So if he can do it in at least one of them, I think he can stick around for a little bit longer. But that's going to be my captain pick for the week. You know, it's going to be an interesting game week, boys. There's a double for a couple of teams. Your favourite team, Burnley, Ollie, have got a double as well. So can you just give us your top 3 Burnley assets for this week, please?
None of them. They're all rubbish. But no,
Weghorst?
if I must be honest and unbiased, because obviously there are people who actually don't mind Burnley in this room, me not being one of them, I absolutely despise them. But I think Weghorst is actually a really, really good option. I think Carmina mentioned before about potentially him being a decent asset. I think he looked quality. I was saying it before watching the highlights. I hated to say it. Watching with Dad, who's obviously a Burnley fan, and I said that turn by Weghorst was unbelievable.
It was against Harry Maguire, though,
against
wasn't
Maguire.
it?
Well, Maguire's the Maguire attacks, but he
It's like saying he turned quicker than a truck, mate.
Yeah, well, no, he did sell. I think was it McTominay as well. I think was involved in that. He absolutely sold them both. And I can't even remember who scored. The turn was that good. It was Jay Rodriguez. It was. You're right. But played him in. I think Weghorst is a brilliant option. So if you're going to go there, I wouldn't trust their defence because that's about as leaky as a broken tap at the moment, isn't it? And about as useful as a chocolate teapot, Burnley's defence, because they've got a one-way ticket back, down to the Championship next season. So no defenders. Potentially Cornet. He was good early in the season, so he might be a good asset. But Weghorst is one that, you know, I'm not going to advocate for because I'm not going to be bringing him in myself, but I don't think he's a bad shout if you were looking at him.
Yeah, look, I spoke about him last week on the podcast. Managed to get an assist, didn't he? So I wouldn't be surprised if Ollie triple captains Weghorst this week on a 1 week punt transfer from him. So if you see that next week on the podcast, then I've probably hacked his account.
Yeah, can pigs fly now? Can pigs fly? Because it's more likely we see pigs fly than me captaining Weghorst this week.
He's definitely not going to be bringing any Burnley assets into his team this week, but they are the captains and transfers that we're going to be making. So that ends that section of the podcast. But we do have a very, very special guest today, the most probably elite FPL manager guest that we've ever had. He came first in Australia last season and 13th in the world overall. Can we please get a round of applause for our guest today, Bill Stewart. Bill, pleasure to have you on the FPL Addicts podcast. How are you doing today, mate?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me, and thanks for the kind words. It's good to be here.
Yeah, being in the presence of a guy who, won Australia last year, it's definitely something that we're definitely not taking for granted. And for everyone that is here live, if you've got any questions, the Guru and Bill are definitely the people to be going to today for advice. So make the most of it whilst you can. That's why you're here. Meet FPL content creators alike at the FPL Social. But Bill, we just got a couple of questions for you today. So, your journey so far, as I've said, you won the Australian FPL League last season, 13th in the world overall. That's got to be your proudest achievement in FPL history, unless you've won Australia and the world. But I highly doubt that, unfortunately. So is that the highlight of your FPL career so far?
Yeah, absolutely. So my FPL journey's probably started pretty similar to most people, just a bunch of mates in a head-to-head league. The first sort of 2-3 seasons didn't really pay any attention to overall ranking or anything like that. It was just about beating your mates. And then last year was my 6th season, and it probably wasn't really until game week 18 or 19 that I noticed I'm doing all right here.
I'm first in Australia.
I wasn't even at that stage. I think I was top 100 in Australia, and I was like, oh, that's a pretty good goal. Like, if I can keep that up for the rest of the year. But then, as I just started using chips and things just started bringing in players who were scoring hat-tricks the week I bought them in, it was pretty surreal. You're lucky to get that once, let alone, a couple times in a season. So, it was interesting.
So do you think that luck played a big part of that? Obviously, first in Australia, it's not all down to luck by any stretch of the imagination, but do you think luck definitely helped you along the way sometimes?
Yeah, for sure. I think there's a big thing about luck as well is I'm a big believer, not just in FPL, but in life, you make your own luck. So, it's lucky that player scores because a hat-trick when you bought him in because you weren't expecting that, but you might have expected him to get a return. So that's why you bought him in, and then you're the beneficiary of that luck.
Yeah, 100%. And, what did your mates think of it? You said you started out on a head-to-head league. If you had a head-to-head league last season, I'm hoping that you won that league.
I actually all my mates who did play FPL in that head-to-head league initially have all dropped off. So I don't really.
You've ruined the fun for them, Bill.
Of FPL mates. So it's good to be here today and meet all these people. I'm hoping that changes now. So no, it was one of those things that when my inner circle of mates did start finding out about it, it was a bit of a talking point. But they sort of recognised it as as nerdy as it may have appeared, it was also a bit of a feat in itself. So.
Yeah, 100%. It's really nice to hear about that, and obviously that's how most people start out FPL. Their mates just want to have a little bit of fun, but what a journey that it's been. So in terms of this season, Bill, I'm not going to assume that you're first in Australia this season so far at this point, but how does it sort of compare to how you're doing last year?
Not first in Australia this season. It's nice not to have the pressure, to be honest. The last sort of 5 or 6 rounds of last year, I was like, I kind of just wanted it to be over so I could go back to just enjoying FPL, if we can enjoy it by that stage.
This season isn't the one to enjoy it.
No. Yeah, now I'm here and I'm like, I wish I could go back to last year. No, it's been it is good and it's enjoyable, and there's sort of, it's a very different season, lots of different tactics, sort of been stitched up as much as anyone else with the whole COVID scenario. So looking forward for the back half of the season to use some of the chips and hopefully get a bit more steady play and a bit more predictability.
Yeah, absolutely. So in terms of your team at the minute, what are your plans going forward into the next game week?
Because I've had such a rotten last couple of weeks, I decided I just wanted to make things fun again. So I'm actually wildcarding this week to try and take advantage of the 2 doubles over the next 2 game weeks. So I'll wildcard this game week into a bench boost next game week, and then that's going to mean I'm going to have 6 players from Liverpool and Arsenal. So I'll probably free hit in 27. I've still got 2 left. So the next sort of 3 weeks, it's a good time to be here and meeting of the minds and get to speak to all these people, because it's probably going to be define my season over the next 3 weeks.
Yeah, Bill, it'd just be great to ask you just how the end of the season went. I know you spoke about it before, how nerve-wracking that was. Can you just give us a bit of an insight into the last 3 game weeks, maybe game week 35 onwards, just knowing that you were close to being the best in the country? Were you just not enjoying football at that point? Were you just waiting for the time where you may be the best in the country? How did that sort of play out for you?
Yeah, it's a bit of a two-pronged thing, because I'm a big Liverpool fan. So there's that. You wake up every morning hoping City have dropped points, and they haven't. They've just won 4 or 5-0. Like, they just coast, and so that's always disappointing. But then, I think probably from about now onwards, or a bit later on is a good time to try and go for differentials. Players who perhaps I always use sort of 10 to 15% owned as a good marker, and last year for me that was Gareth Bale. So when everyone was on the Fernandes train, I decided I'd bring in Bale, who's about 2 million cheaper, and I sort of spread the funds. And the week I bought him in, I woke up in the morning and checked the soccer app, and he'd scored a hat-trick, and I think I went up to number 2 in the world at that point. So it was pretty surreal. Just keep waking up and checking things. It does ruin your sleep though, because I'm very prone to checking it 2, 3 in the morning, and I'm not sure the blue light's so great for your sleep patterns.
Yeah, and could you just give us one, your best bit of advice, your best nugget of advice for all the FPL managers out there? What would you say is your best bit of knowledge that you can give, best bit of wisdom you can give to us FPL managers, us mortal FPL managers?
Definitely, when you're looking at bringing in players, look at game weeks as a chunk. So I always look at it as a sort of 4 to 5 week chunk. I don't look at it just for one game week. Sometimes I'll bring in a player who I don't specifically want that game week, but the following game weeks, they've got a pretty good run, or they might have a double coming up, and sort of jumping on them a bit early can pay off. I did it earlier this year. I bought Mason Mount in. The week I bought him in, he scored 1 point. The next week I think he scored 21 or 24 when he scored his hat-trick. So that's 25 points across 2 weeks, and you're looking at things over a block of weeks rather than sort of getting too focused on the here and now.
Awesome, man. I want to ask, obviously last season, the incredible season you had, what were you using to pick the players? Was it the eye test? Was it the stats? Were you watching many games? What sort of strategies were you using?
Yeah, I try and watch the Liverpool game every week, and then I'll watch overnight goals and highlights and stuff like that. Big fan of the eye test. not so much stats as far as I'm not really into the expected, but I will look at like total shots. So that's a big one for me because I feel like if they're having enough shots, surely some of them are bound to go in eventually. But yeah, definitely agree with what most people said earlier. It's more eye test than anything. And one thing I was also just looking at prior scores. So yeah, I guess the best example this year was the King versus Dennis thing that everyone went through. And I actually got suckered into it. I was looking at all the scores, and it was Dennis, and I was like, oh, I'll go King. He's got the stats, and it backfired terribly. So yeah,
I did the same. So another one as well. Who was the player that sort of carried your season last year? Was there a particular player that stands out from the whole season that you'd say kind of was in there every week for you that kept getting you points after points? Or
it's going to be a bit controversial, but we have to look at it as season by season. Luke Shaw last year for me was
this year's fraud.
He was this year's fraud, but last year for me he was incredible. And one of the turning points, or one of the things that really stood out for me last year, was I played him in a game against Man City when everyone else had. By that stage, it was a bit of a thing. People benched him. I played him. I was like, nah, Man United are keeping games close. I might get a clean sheet out of him. I got a clean sheet, and he scored a goal. It was a massive haul, and I think that shot me up from like top 100 in Australia to top 10.
Wow, unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much for your time today, Bill. Obviously, it's great to have you down here at the FPL Social at Ultra Football in Melbourne. But that does wrap up the podcast for today, the first ever in-person podcast by FPL Addicts. And we thank you all to our live audience and our audience from afar as well. May all your FPL dreams come true in Game Week 25. Take care, stay safe. Bye for now.
One, two.
Welcome back to the FPL Social. We're back down here on the pitch for the FPL Social Semi-Pro-Am. It's going to be an absolutely brilliant event with some top people as well. Over to my right-hand man, Elliot Craig, to explain it all.
Yeah, so they're going to have 5 minutes on the clock. Myself and Ollie have prepared 15 FPL-based questions for our two stars of the show, Geordie Wilson, the Toon fan, and the Matt Day, the guru, to answer. If they get the question correct, then it will go to our semi-professional player, Rogan. If they, however, get the question wrong, it's going to go to our non-professional players in Seb and Damo. So they've got 5 minutes, as I said. They've got to get past 5 different challenges. It starts with a volley. Once they score the volley, they progress to the next round, which will be a one-on-one against the goalkeeper. After a one-on-one, it then goes to a penalty, then a crossbar challenge, and to finish it off, we're going to have a bit of black or white on the dartboard. So if the crowd chant for black, they have to hit the black of the dartboard, and if they chant for white, then they have to hit the white. But we're ready to get underway here. So we will go over to the guru and Geordie Wilson for the very first question. But just first, boys, how are you feeling, Geordie?
Feeling fantastic. It's a great day, great venue, great people. Yeah, it's great.
And Guru, you know, the FPL guru, you've got to get at least 15 out of these 15 questions right. Are you feeling the pressure at the minute?
A little bit, but having Geordie here helps. You know, he's doing really well this season and he knows his stuff. So, yeah, good team.
Yeah, absolutely. We are ready to get underway here as soon as we get the signal. We've got Rogan, as I said, and then we've got Seb and Damo as our non-professionals. So we will go with the timer as soon as it is ready, and we will get the questions ready on our devices as well. As soon as that 5-minute countdown will start, then the clock will not stop for these boys. So I'm going to have to reel the questions out as quick as I possibly can. Promise you there's no match fixing, and we have the same goalkeeper that we had before for the volley challenge. So fingers crossed the shooting boots of Rogan, Seb and Damo are better than they were before. But we are ready to get underway here as soon as we get the 5-minute timer underway. We are ready. 5 minutes on the clock as we speak. The very first question to you, Guru and Geordie. Whoever knows the answer, you just got to say it. You know, a little bit of communication between you two. We will start the 5-minute countdown now. Which player has the most FPL points this season?
Mo Salah.
It is Mohamed Salah, which means Rogan steps up as quick as he possibly can. It's a volley, and Rogan smashes it into the back of the net.
Great start. Question 2. Who has the most assists in the Premier League this season?
Trent Alexander-Arnold.
Correct. Rogan, you back up again.
And we move on to the third question. Everton have just signed Dele Alli from Spurs. What is his current FPL price? Is he 6 million, 6.1 or 6.2?
6.2 million.
He is 6.2 million. It goes to Rogan again for the one-on-one. And he smashes it in again.
So moving on, the cycling goalkeeper in Ben Foster has registered 1 assist this season. Who was that against?
Manchester United.
Correct. Rogan back up again for a one-on-one. Oh, nice.
Absolutely filthy from Rogan there. We'll keep going. We'll move on to the next question. Which player has the highest single game week score this season?
Mason Mount.
It is Mason Mount. Rogan is up again for the crossbar challenge. It was 24 points for Mason Mount. Back over to you, Ollie.
Who is currently the most owned forward in Fantasy Premier League?
Oh, yeah, they're all so bad. Is it Dennis?
That's incorrect. It's Mikel Antonio. Go on, Damo. Finish. Yes.
Just like Mikel Antonio, Damo finishes. Right, Ronaldo has returned to the Premier this season, boys, but how many FPL points did he get on his return against our team, Newcastle, Geordie? Was it 11, 12 or 13?
13.
It was 13 points. Crossbar challenge for Rogan.
Right, true or false? Luca Dean has registered more assists for Aston Villa than Everton at this season.
True.
Correct. Rogan again for the crossbar. Oh, it's the dartboard. Oh, I can't pay that.
Right, which player has gotten the most bonus points this season, boys? Is it Trent Alexander-Arnold, Salah, or Dennis?
Trent?
It is correct. It's Trent Alexander-Arnold with 10. Rogan steps back up again. We'll go for White this time. We'll go White.
So, next question is, Mohamed Salah has got the most points per game this season. True or false?
Let's say true.
It's incorrect. It's false. Ben Chilwell.
Crossbar challenge for Seb. Oh, it's unlucky. Right, we will move on to the next question. How many goals does Danny Ings have this season? Is it 3, 4, or 5? It is 4. The Guru is on form today, and it goes back to Rogan. We'll go black.
We'll move on then. Who has more goals this season in the Premier League out of these two Everton assets, Damari Gray or Richarlison?
I feel like it is Richarlison. But what do you think?
Where are you going? It is Damari Gray.
We'll go black. Yeah! And Rogan comes away with the win today, and we'll invite Rogan over here for a post-match interview for him. As we said, the semi-professional footballer, the captain of Langwarren Football Club. He's just won the semi-pro-am here at Ultra Football for the FPL Social. What do you make of your performance today?
It was alright. I struggled with the dartboard, but I sent Martin for a hot dog, so it's not too bad.
He absolutely did. He filthed him, he chipped him, as I'm sure it got on camera as well. And we will see you soon for the FPL quiz of the season so far, so stay tuned.
I'm loving the new Predator Edge. The colourway is absolutely awesome, and the rubber elements on the boots create great connection when you're kicking the ball. I'm also a big fan of how Adidas has used female athletes to promote the new Preds, as well as manufacturing smaller sizes to cater to the female market. Make sure to grab yours from Ultra Football.
we got sound again. Oh. Can you pass?
Is he live on now?
No, not yet. Can you pass that one?
So am I reading these questions live? Am I reading these questions live?
Quiz is not a fan. Wait, you've started.
Close the thing and get it back up again. Yeah.
You can close it.
What?
We're not pressing anything.
Right, we are back for the final segment of the FPO Social today. We are live and we're about to be doing a Kahoot quiz, so we'll get underway just shortly. For anyone who is just watching along, the code will be released very shortly on the live stream as well. So get yourself involved, whether you're here in the live audience or if you are tuning in from afar. Myself and Ollie collated 10 questions each, formatted into a Kahoot quiz. So Ollie, there's some difficult questions in there for them, isn't there?
Yeah, well, I mean, we didn't plan on making it easy, did we? There are some tough ones in there. The code is just that on the screen, 9434070, I believe that is. So 9434070 is the code. You can see it up on the screen there. You are welcome to join if you are in the audience or at home. Everyone is welcome to join. And look, we've got people in there already. Elliot, you can't be participating, surely, or is that someone else who's a bit of a, what would you call it, an imposter there? Or have you entered yourself?
I've entered myself, but I'm not going to be playing along because I've just realised that we can read the questions out from there, so it's going to be fine. Ollie's going to read out the first 10 questions that he's done to the audience that can't necessarily see it, and then I'll read out my final 10 questions as well, with a bonus question for the last question, which is a very funny one in my opinion. But we'll get underway just shortly. It's good to see the numbers rolling in. So as Ollie said, the code is there on the screen and he announced it before as well. So we'll get underway as soon as possible. 9434070 is the code.
I've seen that last one, Elliot. You can't go wrong with that last question, can you? Slightly contentious, some people might say, but you know, I don't think so. I think that last one is pretty cut and dry, that one, as we wait for more people to join. Code, if you are just joining us, is 9434070 on the Kahoot app or Kahoot.it if you are online. I think we've got about 14 people involved at the moment. If you haven't joined yet, we'll give it another minute or so, and then we will start the quiz. Any prizes, says Seb. Oh, maybe for the next FPL Social. We haven't got any on board yet at the moment, but we'll have to sort something. So the code 9434070. We're about to get underway. Give it another 30 seconds, and then we shall get underway. Oh, we're starting now. Rolando's quick on the button. If you could bring up the questions on the screen, because I cannot read. My eyes aren't that good. So first question, who was the top scorer in FPL last season? Mo Salah, Son Heung-min, Bruno Fernandes, or Harry Kane? There are your four options. 30 seconds in which to answer that one. As most people in the live audience move closer to the screen. Salah, Son, Fernandes, or Kane? Who was the top scorer in FPL last season? You've got 8, 7, 6, 5... And the guru has not read the question. Couple of seconds to get that answer in, and the correct answer. Two people have gone with Bruno Fernandes, who was the correct answer. Last season, he did score the most points, well clear of Salah, Son, and Kane. So the correct answer is Bruno. Two people have gone correct. Chaz and the Gazden Guru. Not sure about that one, if he is the real Gazden Guru. Contentious call, but he is there on the quiz. How many players have risen more than £1 million or £1 million since game week 1? Is it 3, 4, 5, or 6? So 1 million or more. So had 10 plus price rises this season is what you're looking for.
Is that man in the picture a him?
And is that, yes, that one in the picture is one. So you've got one with João Cancelo. And the correct answer, most have gone with 4. That was the largest contingent. That was correct. So 4 people. Cancelo is one of them. Yeah, Jota's another. Third question. Who is the only player to miss multiple league penalties this season, costing him 4 FPL points? To miss 2 penalties. Is it Aubameyang, Mo Salah, Mark Noble or Jorginho? And that man in the picture would never miss a penalty, Harry Maguire. But all of these players have missed penalties this season, but only one has missed multiple penalties. Can you name that player? Aubameyang, Salah, Noble or Jorginho? Pardon me. And the correct answer is Pierre-Emerick Aubameyang. 9 have gone there. And that's why he was moved away to Barca. He did score 1 from the rebound, but of course missed the original penalty. I think that was against Aston Villa. But the fourth question, Jan Bednarek has the lowest score in the history of FPL. Manchester United away last season. What is that score? -7, 8, 9 or 10? Had an awful game. 9-0 Southampton lost that day.
About as bad as it gets.
So really, really bad. 9-0 Southampton lost away at Manchester United at Old Trafford. What did Bednarek score? Lowest of all time. And -7 is the correct answer. Couple went wrong with 8. Couple went 9. So conceded 9. Own goal, red card. How many league goals did FPL hero Michu score in the league in 2012, 13, 16, 18, 20 or 22? We'll stress that this is in the league, so doesn't quantify or doesn't count their successful League Cup run after they beat Bradford in the final. So how many league goals did Michu score? Was unreal, and he scored 18, he scored 22 in all competitions, including that run to winning the League Cup, of course. But scored 18 in the league. That probably is the hardest question in the quiz. I think it gets easier from here. Question 6. Which of these podcast members currently has the most FPL points so far this season? Is it Reedy? Is it Elliot? Is it myself? Or is it Jack? Matt has the most in the league. Who is next? It's not me. There you go. It's out of 3. It isn't me. Of course it isn't me. So who is it? Reedy, Elliot, or Jack? Because it's definitely not me. It is. It is the human fence himself, Chris Reed. 4 people went right. Which 2 players had the most points in the last game week? Ramsey and Coutinho, Jota and Ramsey, Coutinho and Jota, or Gabriel and Coutinho? That is another tough question. But have you been paying attention? Not a bad show, that. Not a bad show. The correct answer is Philip Coutinho and Diogo Jota. 10 people went correct with that one. Nice, well done. That's why I included it in there, because there was 2 on the same. Which of these players contracted to Chelsea has the most goals this season with 7 and level with Mason Mount? Is it Romelu Lukaku, Armando Broja, Jorginho, or Conor Gallagher?
That's a great question.
Contracted to Chelsea, so 2 of those are on loan from Chelsea. The correct answer is Conor Gallagher. Gallagher has 7. Broja has 6. I think Mason Mount has 7. So which of these summer signings has got the most FPL points? And this does not include loans. Is it Jose Sarr, Aaron Ramsdale, Emmanuel Dennis, or Odsonne Edouard? Not including loans. So Conor Gallagher has the most out of any signing, but not including loans. Who has the most? Got 2 goalkeepers and 2 strikers in there. Which one has the most points, not including loans? And the correct answer is Aaron Ramsdale, arrival from Sheffield United. Gazdan Guru still clear, and Seb in second. How many times has Mo Salah appeared in a game week dream team this season? 4, 5, 6, or 7. So the most points in the game week, 11 players have got in that team. How many times has Salah done it? 4, 5, 6, or 7. We're going to move over to Elliot for his 10 questions in a moment. And the correct answer is 6. And 6 people have gone correct with it.
All right, into the second half of the quiz now. If you're laying a bit behind, now it's time to catch up. Which team has earned the most Budweiser King of the Match awards this season? Is it Liverpool, Man City, Spurs, or Aston Villa?
That's a tough one.
Not Tyrone Mings. Not Tyrone Mings. It's like after the game, you get to vote for who the best player was, but everyone bases it off FPL because it's on the Premier League app. So.
And it's the 5 bonus points.
The correct answer was Aston Villa. Only one person getting that one right. No one should choose Tyrone Mings. All right, true or false? Burnley only have one win in the Premier League this season. True or false? And you can see big Wout Weghorst in the picture there, the star of the show for the second half of the Premier League this season. Let's see how many people got this one correct. 10 people got it correct, 3 got it wrong. It is true. Only one win for the Clarets so far this season. Even Newcastle have got more than that. We'll move on to question 13. Which Man City player has the most FPL points this season? Is it Bernardo Silva, João Cancelo, Ederson or Kevin De Bruyne? Very, very tricky question, this one. All in their respective rights have brilliant hauls this season, but most people go with Cancelo, and most would be correct. He's been the most consistent out of all of them there. SideNet is back in the game, as it says on the screen there. True or false? Watford have had 3 managers this season. And you can see the fan of the podcast, the cycling GK there, in the picture. What a bloke, indeed. $12 went true and 1 went false, and the 12 people would be correct. They've had 3 managers: Xisco Munoz, Claudio Ranieri and Roy Hodgson. All of them not really lasting too long. Question number 15. How many goals does FPL hero Rafinha have this season? Is it 6, 7, 8 or 9? Some very quick answers there. 6 right off the bat. The guru has to know how many goals Rafinha's got. He wants him in a Spurs shirt for next season. Ollie did as well that week. He had him. I had Rafinha though, and we were watching it. He has 8 goals. He has 8 goals this season. I first thought it was 7 as well, Guru. Right, the final questions. Which Newcastle player has earned the most FPL points in game week 24 against Everton? Was it St. Maximin, Ryan Fraser, Chris Wood or Kieran Trippier? As the Guru chuckles at Chris Wood. The disrespect. And the correct answer was Ryan Fraser. Kieran Trippier just short. Ryan Fraser with a 13-point haul. Played absolutely brilliantly out of his skin. Final 4 questions. True or false? Only Salah, Trent Alexander-Arnold and Cancelo have over 150 FPL points this season. Again, some very, very quick answers here. Ollie tells me I've given it away in the picture. It is false. The final 3 questions we move on to now. This is the crunch time. This is the crunch time. Which player has played the most minutes in the Premier League this season? Is it Ederson, Declan Rice, Pontus Jansson or James Ward-Prowse? It's a very tricky question this season with all the postponements and everything. It's a very, very tricky question. And the correct answer is Pontus Jansson of Brentford. He's played the most minutes. It racked my brain, that one as well, when I was searching it up. I didn't think it was going to be him. Final 2. Who assisted Felipe Coutinho's goal against Leeds in game week 24? Definitely wasn't Ollie Watkins. Was it Jacob Ramsey, Matty Cash, Emi Buendia or Jon McGinn? It was Matty Cash. Bit of an FPL hero. Matt Target's a bit more of a hero than Matty Cash, but both in their respective rights decent players. And we will move on to the next question. The leaderboard is Seb at top at the minute. Can he stay top for the last question? True or false? The FPL Addicts Guru gives the best FPL advice. As you can see, the man in the picture there, down at the Ultra Football pitch.
Who's voted false? Reveal yourselves!
The Gazden Guru in third, Matty Gazden. Charlie in second, and our winner for the FPL Social 2022 Kahoot is none other than Seb. And we do have a prize for Seb at some point, but with that, and if we can get the Guru up here to say a couple of words, that does bring us to the end of the FPL Social for today at Ultra Football in Melbourne. The very first one, 2022. As we all said, this podcast started out as four guys sitting in lockdown 2020 of Melbourne. And it's great to see that we can all bond here over the shared love of FPL, no matter what teams we support or anything like that. We're all passionate and everything, so it's great to see so many people here today, and we thank you all. And I'll just pass the mic on to Ollie and Matt to say a few words as well.
Yeah, it's all about the Guru. This obviously it was all started with him and Jack. We were just bored in lockdown, waiting for something to do, and we just had the idea after game week 1. We just thought, why not do a podcast? And we could never have dreamed that it would turn out like this. So thank you to all for turning out. It's been a brilliant event, been one of the best days of the year so far. And Guru, the floor is yours, mate. This is all yours. So I'll give it to you now.
Nice one, Ollie, and thanks everyone for coming. Great stuff, Jack, with the event, and thanks to Ultra Football. It's a top venue, and thanks everyone for coming. It's just been unreal to think this all sort of started in lockdown, and then now we've got a group of people here that are all just so passionate about FPL. So thanks everyone for coming.
Beautiful words there, Matt. Finally, guys, from me, thank you so much to everybody. The support for coming, there's people like myself, Rolando and Dave. We've got a network of people, and we can bring people together, but it's those guys who turn up to make it happen is what makes it happen. Okay, so a big thank you to my team with the FPL Addicts. Me and Matt we played in an esports live competition that me and Rolando created, that Dave supported on, that Matt played in, that these boys commentated on. So we're all linked somehow. Martin, who went in goal today, has been playing football with me for years. Seb has been refereeing for me previously. So a lot of these people, the Gazden brothers, we went to the Euros together. You met Sensero. But football brings us all together, and it's obviously that's what's great about this event. And a big thank you to Ultra Football and Panenka. Providing us with the facility today is unbelievable. They've also looking to commit to Sydney for next year as well, which is crazy. And obviously to Rolando as well with the streaming. He's had a hell of a day today, but he's put it all together, done fantastic. So a big thank you to you for all your time, and obviously Dave assisting as well. Much appreciated. Bit of a round of applause for these guys as well. I did have a speech, but yeah, big thank you to Ultra Football as well and Panenka. Obviously Rolando with Your Sport Live. Through to our panellists for today, our guests. So Inzaghi, great to meet you. Ryan, obviously coming on board. We've got Pete, I can't see you. Pete out there, so thank you so much. And the girls from Hungry for More. Fantastic insight, fantastic knowledge. We know how much effort goes into what you do as well. So providing that content week in, week out. I don't think we've missed a podcast since the 13th of September 2020 when we started. So we know what that takes, and there's 4 of us. So when you're doing it on your own, we understand, or in a duo, we understand how much work that takes. So big thank you for doing that and putting the effort in. So big thank you to our panellists for today. Yeah. And there's a couple more. I'll probably go through each and every one of you because you've all got a story. But a big thank you to Geordie Wilson for committing to come to Sydney. I'm out till whatever time you want to go home tonight, all right? Whatever time you want to go, I'll stay out just because you made the effort, all right? So absolutely, you came on the podcast at the start of this year. You're playing one of our esports competitions originally, I believe, as well, from memory. So you've been on the journey with us too, so much appreciated for Geordie. And also a big shout out to the reigning FPL Australia champion, Bill, for attending today. I got in touch with him Tuesday or Wednesday, I think it was, and we managed to lock it all in. I had to do a bit of detective work myself to get him with Optus. So a big thank you for making the effort to come today, because that was it was fantastic to hear your insight. And obviously, if you went back to back, that would be very impressive. But yeah, big thank you to you two especially as well. So big round of applause for them. And yeah, I think that's it from us. We've absolutely had an incredible day. These boys are on their journey for commentating, and the Guru on for his FPL knowledge and insight. So we're very excited, and we just want to keep pushing on. And hopefully next year or the next one we do, you can all be a part of it again. So a big thank you from me.
I think the last thing that I'll say is what I say at the end of each podcast. Hope all your FPL dreams come true for the rest of the season, and we'll see you all soon.